In the words of Dave Mustaine of Megadeth, we're going to try to soldier on here, and certainly there's a lot to get into here in the world of sports. We've got some football, NFL Week 1. We've got some baseball, and the New York teams are definitely limping here to the finish line. We'll get to all of that here shortly with three of my guys. That includes Justin Gianelli of the Baseball Banter Show, the brute force Brad Weiss, of course, the legendary SJC New York Golden Eagle, also with the Level Up Basketball Organization, Long Island Nets, Plainview JFK Boys, JV coach, also the LI Brew Crew, and rocking our Sportswire gear. Of course, he is the host of the Liftoff Jets and the Talking Rivals. His name is Chris Bazea. And gentlemen, how we doing tonight?
All right.
I'll say I'm doing good because I'm excited for football to start this weekend.
Yeah, you know what? I definitely think that the baseball season right now is almost looking like a whimper right now, the way it's going to end with both these teams here. Certainly the Mets and Yankees. And just when you think the Yankees turn the corner, they're playing the Rays right now. They're struggling. And the Mets, who had this easiest schedule, and everybody said, wait till September. And they're playing these teams. And I think these might be the most difficult teams to play. And let's go over here first with the Yankees and Chris Bazea. Obviously, good to be with you. You know, Chris, every time I want to believe in this Yankees team and they play the Twins and they get some dose of medicine that we all need, and they're pretty much now kind of back here and giving the Rays an opportunity, and I'm starting to get worried now about this lead now for these New York Yankees.
This might be muted.
Yeah, you might. Let's see if we can unmute, and let's see if we can turn it back on. Chris, you're on mute. You're on mute there, Chris. You might want to unmute yourself there if you can. We'll come back to you in a second. Let's come back here to Justin Gianelli while Chris fixes some of these technical difficulties here, and obviously, Justin, I'll get to the Mets. There we go. There you go. All right, there's Chris Bazea. How you doing there, Chris?
Good. I'm doing all right.
All right. Your audio kind of right now is like how we're feeling with our Yankees and Mets. But, as I had asked, this Yankees team, every minute I want to believe in them. And now I'm still not so sure right now with the Tampa Bay Rays are right there. And the way this schedule is coming up, I'm definitely worried right now.
No, I'm actually I'm very worried because of all the injuries with the Yankees. Now they're bringing up these kids and they're just not producing offensively. I mean, they're just not scoring runs. And the guys that are left, whether it's Torres, Aaron Hicks in left field was a disaster. Dropped the ball, didn't even go for it. He thought it was foul. He's just a complete mess out there in left. The guys that are left, other than Judge, are just not producing. I mean, forget about the rookies, but these veterans got to step up. Like Torres has been a complete disaster since the All-Star break. Hicks has been garbage all year. Donaldson's been out a couple of days. He's coming back tomorrow, but he hasn't done anything. So offensively, they're just not getting anything done. Pitching is keeping them in games, but they just can't get anything going offensively. And with Rizzo still out, he's nowhere near returning either. So, I mean, the Yankees got what they got right now, and there's not much they could do, right? There's no trade deadline to save them. They can only bring up guys now from the minors, and they've done that, and these guys aren't producing. So the only thing that there's a little bit of a saving grace is the Rays do have a really tough schedule the rest of the way. The Yankees a little bit easier. But, I mean, the Yankees still got to win games, and they're just not scoring runs right now, and it's not looking good. I'll tell you that.
I'll tell you what, I've heard all about these schedules, and this Mets schedule was supposed to be so easy. It was cupcakes. The Yankees got all these home games, and you know what? These two teams are struggling right now here. And before I get to Justin and the brute force, Anthony Finkel, of course, of DPH Property Service Maintenance, is here with us here once again, and he says here, love the jet skier brute force, and also Justin. I think Anthony Finkel is going – I don't know if he's going. Are you going Sunday or are you going to the game against the Bengals? Remind me if I'm wrong on either one. And he also gives you a shout out for the new Sportswire shirt. I know that Rob Maraska will be wearing his in a little while. And Justin, I mean, it's really been an interesting time in New York baseball. You'd think here that we would have been coasting. The Mets would have had no problems. The Yankees had this huge lead, and now I'm definitely pressing the panic button, despite what the brute force has said the whole time, and I'll get to him about confidence. But to me, right now, I got no confidence in both of these teams to hold on to their leads in their divisions.
Yeah, and let's start with the Yankees here, as we were just talking about them. It's just incredible what's happened to them over these last couple of months, and like Chris documented, all the injuries that they're going through right now, and it's a mash unit at the most inopportune time. And you could say all you want about the Rays having the tough schedule, but the Yankees haven't made things easy on themselves. And the way they're not winning ball games, and the Rays are just a good team. I don't understand how they do it, but the Rays are just always a good, solid baseball team. And tough schedule or not, they're going to find ways to win games. The Yankees and Mets both have to pick up their game right now, because it seems like neither team has shown any life. And tonight's game is a perfect example, especially from the Mets side of things. The number of times they've left guys in scoring position. The number of times. I don't. You know what? My confidence in the Mets is waning right now, because the one thing I always would hang my hat on is that the Mets are in first place. If the Mets find themselves, if we wake up tomorrow and the Mets are in second place, they will not see first place again. The Braves do not lose. The Mets have no margin for error, and have had no margin for error for 2.5 to 3 months. They have not stepped up here in the month of September. Winning 2 out of 3 against the Pirates is not acceptable. They needed to sweep. Losing 2 out of 3 to the Nationals is absolutely unacceptable. And they're playing uninspired baseball. And Buck Showalter needs to be put under heat here, because he has not done any favors. Why in a one-run game? I get it, they're trailing by 1, but why in a one-run game? You're down 4-3. Edwin Diaz hasn't pitched in 8 days. Why is he not pitching the bottom of the 8th? You need to guarantee you get to the top of the 9th inning, down 4-3, so you could score some runs. Now they're down 6-3. They're not going to make the comeback tonight, and they're going to be tied with the Braves, and you're going to have to hope the Seattle Mariners can win a baseball game tonight. And the Mariners have been great this year. The Mariners have been great of late. It's a great matchup out in the Pacific Northwest between them and the Braves. But the Braves do not lose. And the Braves score early and often, too. They punch your soul out and take it from you. The Mets don't do that. The Mets have been falling behind every single night.
Except the second game of the Pirates series. And the rest of these games, they've been...
The doubleheader. Both games of the doubleheader. They scored first in both games. But when you're a bad team, 90% of the time, when you fall behind, you're just going to roll over and die. Not when you let them get the lead. And then you have Darren Ruff, who can't get a hit to save his life, taking an important at bat in the 9th inning against Dylan Floro. I mean, it's a mess on both sides. And there needs to be a serious wake-up call, or else things are going to spiral out of control for both teams.
I'll tell you what, right now, I'm definitely worried, and I'll get to the Mets much more later on when Rob Maraska comes on 10:30. I want to spend a few minutes on the Yankees, and I want to go over to football a little bit and pick some of these games and certainly get into that talk as well. And the Brute Force, Brad Weiss, obviously always good to be with you. Certainly your enthusiasm speaks volumes, your confidence, your energy, all that stuff. I wish I could have half of the positivity that you have in each and every day of your life and everything that you do. But I am sorry right now. But as a New York baseball fan, there is no confidence right now in my mind. There is no positivity, because the Atlanta Braves, as Justin correctly pointed out, do not lose. They have the best record in baseball here since June 1st. And the New York Mets had this schedule that was supposed to be cupcakes and layups, like we say in our college basketball. Yep, go ahead.
By the way, Dansby Swanson just hit a 2-run home run. They're up 2-0.
Yep, Braves 2-0. Yep, so there you go. So the Braves are definitely going to find their way. You know what they're going to do. They're going to steamroll here, as famously what former New York Governor Elliot Spitzer used to famously say he was going to steamroll then the late Senate Majority Leader Joseph Bruno. But enough about New York politics. The Brute Force, Brad Weiss here. There is no confidence, no positivity in my mind about the New York Mets, and especially the New York Yankees.
Yeah, I gotta disagree with some of that, and I'll tell you why.
Disagree? Have you watched the Mets? Have you watched the Yankees? They can't
I'll
hit.
explain. I'll explain. All right. So.
Oh my God.
Good evening, everybody. I'm excited to be here today. But I'm not going to go as far as saying I have no confidence. All right. Now, if I'm Chris Pizzea as a Yankee fan, I agree with him. There should be zero confidence in the team right now because it's not a team. It's Aaron Judge and the rest of them. That's what the New York Yankees are right now. The New York Mets, obviously, I use the word concern right now because of the opponents that they're playing and how they're playing against them. But like you said, Tom Bryce, and I'll say this from somebody who's been on some of these bad teams before, those are sometimes the hardest teams to play because they have nothing to lose. Right?
I agree with you on that. That I agree with you on.
When you're playing those teams, right, you really got to come to play, and you think you don't. And the one thing I would say about the Mets is that, this is where leadership really needs to show because, you're kind of faltering a little bit against worse teams, but, you're not stepping up to the plate like you were against some of the better teams that you beat, like the Dodgers 2 out of 3. Like those series, as Justin said, the Mets were inspired. They looked like they wanted to win those games, and they don't look like the same team against these weaker teams. Now, with that, I haven't lost full confidence in them. There's still positives that we could take out of what's going on right now. Look at the way all of a sudden Escobar is starting to hit. If this team hits and Escobar hits the way he's hitting lately, I'm pretty excited. And I'm even going to say, guys like Nito and McCann have been better.
McCann's had a good month. McCann's definitely had his best month as a Met, although it's a very short
but listen, if the Mets can hit the way they've hit for the majority of the season, right, where they can put together at-bats and hit singles and make things happen. I know right now it's not happening, but they've had these spurts before, and they come back and they score 10 runs a few nights later. So I'm not overly worried. Now, everyone's panicking because of the Atlanta Braves. Ladies and gentlemen, we as New Yorkers cannot control the Atlanta Braves. We can't make them lose. We can't make them struggle. Okay. Unfortunately, they don't lose. Okay. But ultimately, most baseball teams, including the best baseball teams, lose baseball games. And right now, the Braves are on one of these hot streaks.
Yeah, but you've been telling me since June they were going to lose, they were going to slump. You've been telling me, it's going to be all right.
Now,
it's going to be okay. And it hasn't been. It hasn't worked.
You're not letting me finish here. Here's the strategy. I've been trashing the Atlanta Braves. I'm going to compliment them today because, I think complimenting them might have them, go in the other direction. So I'm going to compliment them today. They're playing great baseball. Right? Everything's clicking. All's going right. All right. It's great times for Atlanta Braves fans. And, listen, again, I'll say it over and over again. The one thing I will say is that they continue to not see much competition. They're just steamrolling teams. And they're what to Justin's point, though, they really slam the door right away. Like they put you in, they trap you right away and then they get you. Where the Mets right now are not doing that. That's the part of it where I'm saying I'm concerned because the Mets are kind of playing like lackluster against these weaker teams, while the Atlanta Braves really stomp on you against the teams, like I said.
Yeah, like Oakland, and certainly when they played Washington.
They're a little bit more assertive. Now, with all that being said, let me go back to the point I made about leadership. The Braves won a World Series last year. They know what it takes to win a World Series. The Mets don't yet. Okay, so they're going through some of the growing pains against weaker teams right now because they don't have that leadership maybe that the Atlanta Braves do in their clubhouse. And they need to start building that. And again, I'm not going to say just because they lost a few games. Like Justin said, I wasn't happy. I was at the Nationals game. They lost 7-1, and they blew it up in the ninth inning with this man. I can't even say his damn name was pitching in the ninth inning. I left that game in the ninth inning. Okay, I never leave.
Wait. You left? You didn't even stay for the final out?
No, I was disgusted. Are you kidding me? That was embarrassing.
I've been to some bad Islander games, but if I paid for a ticket, I don't care what the outcome is. I'm still staying for the whole time.
And here's the thing, Tom Bryce. I'm that type of fan. And people who know me, I stay for every game. But this game, I was so disgusted because they couldn't hit Patrick Corbin, who had a 7 ERA. And it was just embarrassing. So I couldn't take it anymore.
And he's been probably the worst pitcher in all of baseball the last 2 years. Maybe Dallas Keuchel would be the other one. He's right up there.
They're playing inconsistent baseball against weaker teams. But am I about to go here and say that I should be really worried about the Mets like the Yankees? No, the Mets are 87-51. They're still a good baseball team. They still show you reasons to that they can win in the playoffs. I know everybody wants to win the division. So do I. Trust me, I want to win this division.
This team has to win the division. This team cannot settle for a wild card and expect to go anywhere this year. It's just facts. And we have to come to the realization that the Atlanta Braves are just a better baseball team. They are.
I'm with you on the last part, and I want to come back to the Yankees in a second. But since June 1st, the Atlanta Braves have shown that they are definitely world champions, and there's no question that the Atlanta Braves definitely have put themselves in position to do some things. Let me get to some comments here because people want to tune in and chat. Joey Bostrom here, who's got a new shirt, I guess, even from the last photo I saw from him here. And Joey says, "Hey guys, how are you tonight?" Joey, where'd you take that photo? Does it look like from the friendly confines of South Beach? Or is it like another place in Staten Island that I recognize? So Joey is here with us. Anthony Finkel says the Brute is a winner. Well, the Brute is definitely a winner on the court. There's no question you were a winner, the Brute Force. But in terms of some of your thoughts about confidence in the Mets and Braves, I may slightly disagree at the moment. And Anthony Finkel says, I'm going to do some voodoo tonight against the Braves. That reminds me of, was that Major League where Pedro Serrano did voodoo, I think, when he would come up to bat? It was in the locker room, I think, and he would like go do that whole...
Yeah, because he couldn't hit the breaking ball, right?
Yep, that was it. That was it. There you go. I'm glad somebody caught that reference here. But I'll come back to baseball in a little while, and I don't have Rob Marasco on at 10:30, but I really want to get to football because I'm excited about it. I want to pick some of these games, and obviously Jets and Giants are in action. We saw yesterday's game here, opening week of the NFL with the Rams and the Bills, and it really wasn't much of a contest here. And I'll come here with Chris and give me your impressions on the game last night and some other things you're watching before we pick a few games here in a few minutes.
Well, definitely last night, you got to be impressed by Buffalo. They came out and made it look really easy early on. Couple of turnovers, kind of slowed them down. But the second half, Buffalo just took over. I'm surprised that they beat them that bad. I thought the Rams would at least give them a good game, but Buffalo just looks really good. Josh Allen just keeps getting better every year. Every year that we've seen him, he's gotten a little better. Now he's on track to probably win the MVP if he keeps this up. But we still got to see the rest of the league. But right now, Buffalo looks really good. The Rams, I think, will bounce back. I think they'll be fine. I don't think they'll be as bad as as they were last night. But Bills were very impressive. This weekend, of course, I'm looking forward to the Jet game. I'll be there. Now that we, Dwayne Brown went down, so now, 2 straight.
Yeah, I saw that.
No Zach Wilson, obviously, but I was, talking to Justin a little bit earlier. We were going back and forth, but I definitely think this defense has to be the strength of the team for the Jets. There's no more excuse for this team. There's too much talent on the defensive side. Offensive side, I get it. You're starting quarterbacks out, starting right tackles out. I get it. Okay. But defense has to play well. They have to keep them in all the games and try to give us a chance to win. So, but there's a lot of good matchups this week. I'm definitely looking forward to it. What are some of the good matchups?
I'm going to go one I think is an intriguing matchup. Maybe not be the best matchup, but Dolphins-Patriots. I think that's a really intriguing matchup.
And you know why? Because I think the Dolphins are kind of like the wild card in the division right now.
Yeah, because they started the season poorly. They finished red hot. They obviously, we all know what happened with the coaching situation. Quarterback's been questioned. And, I mean, I don't know
why people question Tua. Tua's a winning quarterback in this league right now. You could question his health. Sometimes he gets hurt. I get it. But, I mean, the guy's he's a winning quarterback coach, winning quarterback in this league. If you look at his career record, he's got a winning record. And he hasn't really played on too many good teams the last couple of seasons. So, that's definitely one. Raiders and Chargers, that's another big one.
It's going to be a rematch of the last game in the regular season last year.
And think about it. Chargers got the Raiders, and then they got the Chiefs next week. So that's going to be interesting for them. I mean, the Chargers obviously are going to have a really good team. So, but should be a really good opening weekend. We'll see what these teams have. Obviously, it's early. So we're going to see some crazy stuff week one. We always do, but it's great to have football back, especially with how how the Yankees are playing, and not so much the Mets. I'll have more about the Mets when we talk about them later on. But I'm more worried about the Yankees than the Mets.
Oh, I'm definitely worried about the Yankees because I'm obviously we're in a Facebook group now with our friend Joey Bostrom, and we created this group, and I'm following the Yankees Twins game, the first game of the doubleheader on Wednesday, and it was like the Yankees just were given so many opportunities to win that game, and they finally win it. But it was, boy, they really were lucky to win that. But let me get to a bunch of comments here before I get to the other guys here on some football games. I do want to pick at least a few games while we have some time. Joey Bostrom says it would be disappointing if the Mets lose out on the division after this season they had. Yep, I definitely agree with you on that. Justin is spot on most of what he's had to say there. And Anthony Finkel said Bills laid the smackdown on the Rams, and I'm looking forward to next Thursday, hopefully a burger with Anthony Finkel, because last night I wasn't able to, and actually it was for the better because I have a little bit of a cold right now, so I wouldn't want to get anybody sick at the moment. And Anthony Finkel says, where are you tailgating for Chris? He says, I'll be there L6 with Fireman Ed. They want us in our seats at 12:30, 9/11 tribute, and getting the Jets chance going early. So where are you sitting, Chris, for Sunday?
My seats are shoot. I think Sharman's got he bought the seats. I got the parking. We park at that. There's a restaurant like right across the road. It's called Reds, and then they bus you over.
Okay.
So at least you got a spot there, so it's not bad.
All right.
So I don't know where we're tailgating. I think we're just gonna, meet up with people. But I'll definitely. What is he at? L6. All right, I'll look for him.
Yeah, I'm sure we can arrange that where everybody meets up here. And before I get to Justin and the Brew Force, Joey Bostrom says Buffalo has something to prove. Yeah, I definitely agree. Sure. And Joey also says Miami is a sleeper, them and the Colts. Yeah, we spoke about the Colts a little bit, I think, 2 weeks ago, so we'll come back into them as well. That AFC race is going to be
high
good.
on Miami.
No, tell me why. No. So we have you back in here. So give me your thoughts and impressions.
I just don't trust Tua Tagovailoa.
Okay.
It comes.
I'm glad you pronunciated his last name right because I wouldn't have.
Say Tua. That's good. Good job,
Justin.
Good job, Justin.
Okay, well, obviously, when it comes to that, I mean, Justin, obviously, number of different things at stake here. Jets Week 1 opener. I mean, any impressions you had on last night's game, and any other things before we pick a game or two after I get the Brute Force's thoughts?
Sure, I'll start before I go on to the Jets. I'll start with last night's game. I think it was.
Sure.
It was eye opening. I expected the Bills to play well, and I expected this to be a good contest, but they kind of dominated the entire game. And if it wasn't for a couple of turnovers in the first half by the Buffalo Bills, I don't think it would have been 10-10 at the half. The Rams just looked out of sync. They played sloppy. You could tell they missed Andrew Whitworth, who retired in the offseason, because left tackle Joseph Noteboom could not handle Von Miller and the pass rush, getting to Matthew Stafford 7 times, and not being able to really get the offense fully in sync. Cam Akers only had 3 touches last night. It ended up being Darrell Henderson who led the backfield, and he didn't even have that many carries because they were behind and Stafford had to throw more. But also, too, Allen Robinson not really involved. One catch on 2 targets last night. It ended up being a force feed of Cooper Kupp, which, is natural. Cooper Kupp's always going to get his, but you're going to have to get other guys involved, like an Allen Robinson, like a Tyler Higbee, like a Ben Skoranek. You got to get other guys involved so that the offense flows at a much better rhythm, but they just did not have time with that Buffalo pass rush. And that Buffalo defense is going to be one of, if not the best defenses in all of football, just like they were a year ago. And adding Von Miller only makes that better. So, an incredible statement last night by the Buffalo Bills, and they're going to be one of, if not the best team in the AFC this year. Now, as for the Jets, I got 2 words for you. This game's a must-win. I'm sorry. This game is a must-win for the New York Jets. I'm sick and tired of being winless in September. Does anyone remember Sam Darnold's debut? It's the last time.
Don't bring it up. Yeah.
That's the last that Monday night in Detroit. That's the last time the Jets won a September football game. It's time to not be 0-3, 0-4 going into October. I'm sick and tired of the season ending before it starts. So I don't care who's on the other side. I don't care that it's the Baltimore Ravens. This is a must-win for the New York Jets. That defense has got to play their ass off against Lamar Jackson. I get that. But you know what? There's too much talent on this roster, even with Joe Flacco quarterback this week and for the first couple weeks of the season. This team is too much talent to have another 5-12 season. They need to start winning football games, or else Joe Douglas, you better start packing your bags.
Well, certainly some valid points there, and certainly Anthony Finkel definitely agrees. He says, preach, Justin, no more accepting failure. And also the Mad New Yorker also says, Jets should stay landed and get another draft pick. But the Brute Force, Brad Weiss, I know you got a lot to say here for sure. Also, Joey Bostrom. Let me get Joey in here also because Joey's a huge Jets fan. Also, Jets need to be better defensively, and they have to win Sunday. Justin is right. Please win a game in September. Yeah, well, I think we're all in agreement with that. But the Brute Force, I mean, obviously, we spoke about the Thursday game last week on the show, and obviously it sort of kind of went the way you thought it would, but didn't quite in a way because Buffalo definitely steamrolled the Rams. But give me your impressions on that game and a few other things here before we pick some games here for a little bit.
Yeah, so, I do have a lot to say, and unfortunately, there's going to be positives and there's going to be negatives. And part of the reason why I was pretty calm and collected with baseball is because I got a lot of damn things to say when it comes to football, all right? So, number one, let's go to this game, all right? First of all, ladies and gentlemen, I want to start by talking fantasy before I get to the game, all right? If you don't know, because I've tried to express it, but I'm not trying to express it because I don't want to punch the wall or get upset. Okay, I started Cam Akers last night, all right, in one of my fantasy leagues. And ladies and gentlemen, on the first night of fantasy football, this man drops a donut. 0. 3 rush attempts, no yards, no hope. He starts me with 0. I mean, this guy, I couldn't stand watching this game. Where's Cam Akers? And he was nowhere to be found. All right. Now, I was lucky because my opponent in that league actually had Dawson Knox, who only had 1.5 points. So I was okay. But in my other league, which ironically is against Chris this week, I had Stephon Diggs, and he had quite a night. So I started off well against Chris. In the other league, not so much. I was going against Cooper Kupp, and he also had a good game. So James Cronin is my opponent in the other league.
Oh, James Cronin. Shout out to James Cronin.
He's laughing at me as I speak. So he's telling me,
is he with us in studio right now, though?
He's not here. But, he's been sending me all these memes about, Cam Akers fans punching the wall and everything. Yeah, I'm a Cam Akers owner, okay? And this man completely started my week off bad. So let me get that out of the way. Now, with the game itself, you guys kind of said it already. Buffalo made a big statement. And the Rams definitely, even though I still think they're going to win double-digit games, obviously, because they play in the NFC, obviously, okay? But they definitely showed that they are not the same team as last year. And certainly are not at the level of the Buffalo Bills. They definitely need to improve in a lot of different areas. I think they got weaker in different areas. And like Justin was saying, they definitely need to be a little bit more creative offensively instead of being Captain Obvious because they like to go to Cooper Kupp every possession. Okay, so they have to be a little more creative. They need to get Cam Akers more involved. They need to get other guys like Allen Robinson, as you mentioned, involved, and that'll help them. But defensively, they got washed too, especially Jalen Ramsey. My God. I mean, I was happy as a Stephon Diggs owner that he was catching passes left and right. But Jalen Ramsey was getting cooked left and right by Stephon Diggs. So that is another thing that did not go well for the Rams. But like I said, the Rams are playing the dumbest team next week. We'll be talking great about them next week. All right, but ultimately this week, they played the better team. They got stomped on. And in the end, I'm 0-1 in my picks already because I picked the damn Rams. I got the Buffalo points right, though. I said 34-31.
That's why I said you sort of got it right, but the outcome of the game wasn't
the Rams dropped 10, so they definitely.
Yeah, that was exactly.
And being in a pick'em league now, that is not a good start.
No, that's for sure. But let me get to a bunch of comments here before we get into some games because I want to pick a few games here for a little while. And the Mad New Yorker says Joe should go. I guess we'll find out. Anthony Finkel says Joey B as in Joey Bostrom. And Anthony also says the Rams more like lambs to slaughter. Yeah, maybe. That does sound like it rings. Positive Wilson is not the QB. Move on or end up with another Danny Dimes situation. We'll see when it comes to the Jets.
You can't.
It's still early.
It's too early. It's too early.
It's still
Punch
out
the
of-
wall, Brute. Good content. Yeah, that was a good segment from the Brute. I sat Allen for Burrow, but it's the first game. Yeah, it's the first game. Listen, certainly it's the first game. You're going to have plenty of weeks ahead with quarterbacks. And at the end of the day, don't feel too bad because my friend Daniel Slavin is high on Kirk Cousins. In his fantasy draft, he picked Kirk Cousins. And he's going on about Kirk Cousins and how he's going to have a massive year. So maybe, maybe not. Bills need to be more balanced in running as well. Bills had a good defense. They definitely did. Want to win some money, make picks against the Brute. Sorry, Brute. yeah, that was the running joke. That was the running joke. Well, that was the running joke in the COVID year that Brute was. When we were doing just the podcast, we would pick the different games and talk about the different things. I'd say, how was your fantasy? God.
I will say.
Go ahead,
I will say in regards to that last comment about the Bills running the ball, one big concern I still have about them is Josh Allen's their best running back.
Yeah.
And that can't happen. And I still don't really trust Devin Singletary. I'm not a big fan of Zach Moss. Now, James Cook basically got one touch last night. He fumbled his only snap. And, we'll see if James Cook pans out to be anything. But, the Buffalo running game is still of concern.
Mm-hmm.
And, Ken Dorsey last night in his first game as offensive coordinator really didn't change the program up much from what Brian Daboll was running as the offensive coordinator.
All right, all great stuff there. And of course, again, if you like what you hear from us on Facebook, do follow us on at Sportzwire Radio. Also, there's some links I've posted up. So if you'd like to wear a Sportzwire shirt like Chris, there is a link where you can actually buy a shirt. If you'd like to listen to us, some of the different podcasts that we stream around the world, like the Baseball Banter and also the Liftoff Jets and the Talking Rivals, you can do that there on sportnarium.com/player. Also, a link is to our YouTube channel. I want to thank everybody that is subscribing there, and also we're closing in on 500 followers on Facebook, so definitely moving up the ladder. So thank you everybody for that as well. You can go follow us on Facebook there as well. But let's get to some games here because I want to do that because I know Rob Maraska's dying for baseball, and I got to spend a little time on baseball. But I want to pick some games.
Before you start, where's John Gonzalez? This guy said he was coming prepared with picks. All right, I'm ready. I'm here, John Gonzalez. Where are you?
Hey, I tell you what, I'm here to Brute Force, and I'm under the weather. In fact, I honestly want to be in bed right now taking a nap. But you know what? I was fired up from the beginning because I had R.P. Davis on, and he shot on the wrestling company that he works with, and then I had Nate Reese, and he was going on about Mask, and he was going on about Queen Elizabeth. So I'm like, you know what? I got to be here. So at the end of the day,
and at some point before the end of the show, I'd like to debut something new during the football season called Justin's 3 Locks of the Week. I'm going to be making.
Give me the 3. All right, give me the 3.
Let's hear him. Let's get him.
I got the spreadsheet ready. I'm keeping track of these picks. I want to see how I'm doing this year with you.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I want to run through some of them here. And also, Anthony Finkel wants to remind me, did you hear the Queen died? Yes, we did I can't say it was a tribute, but I did a segment with Wildfire Nate Reese about it because it's very controversial in England. There are some people that beloved and love Queen Elizabeth, and there are others that don't feel the same way. So everybody has different opinions, just like anything else. But yes, I did a few minutes of a tribute on it in my way possible. And Laura says, feel better, Tom. Take some ginger tea. No, I got a big gulp in my hand right now. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I always do. So I'm just one of those things. I'll soldier on. But let me get to some games here because I really want to get to some of these games here. And also, Anthony Finkel said, did you hear the Queen died? My aunt, Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah? Wait, did Queen Latifah die, or is that a joke?
No,
I was going to say. Okay, because I was going to say Queen Latifah I would have heard about because I know Queen Latifah. She's from Newark, New Jersey. So she is, that's a different thing. But let me get to some games of note here. And the first game that I thought would be really interesting to talk about is the Chiefs and the Cardinals. Chiefs right now is 6-point favorites here. I got 53.5 is the over-under. And Chris, what do you think about that matchup? Intriguing matchup there. Obviously, Cardinals, it looks like they're the home team, and Chiefs obviously always have expectations high. It was a Cardinals team that certainly at times looked like they were the best team in the NFL, but had a drastic fall in the second half and kind of backed into the playoffs. And give me your impressions on that matchup, because I find that to be one of the more fascinating matchups in week one.
Yeah, you know what? On Arizona's side, I think I said it last week, Kyler Murray, I want to see how he responds to signing that big contract. You know, like, how is he going to follow up signing that big contract? Is he going to follow it up with a big season, especially like you said, after they kind of pooped the bed the second half of the year last year? So that's going to be an interesting team to look out for in that respect. And Kansas City, I mean, they probably feel like they should have been in the Super Bowl last year, not Cincinnati. I mean, they had the home field last year against Cincinnati and they blew it. So, and you know, no Tyreek Hill. How is that team going to respond to that without Tyreek Hill? So I definitely like Kansas City in that game. I'm not a big Arizona fan. I don't like Kyler Murray. So I would definitely go with Kansas City.
Fair enough here. And Justin, Chiefs, Cardinals. Chiefs are 6-point favorites. 53.5 is the over-under. Cardinals at home. What do you think?
I'm not going to put this as one of my 3 locks of the week, but I do love the Chiefs. I do love the Chiefs in this game. I'm just not a fan of the Arizona Cardinals, and I was very skeptical of the contract that they gave Kyler Murray this offseason. And two, you know, Chris mentions the pressure that's on Murray in this game, not just with the new contract, but how about what leaked out about the whole clause, the studying clause that came out, and really put a cloud around that contract as to, like, they gave him money, but do they really trust him? You know, right. So there is that worry that maybe deep down they don't really trust him that much, even though they just paid him all that money. And they're off to a brutal start because they're playing a tough opponent. Granted, it's in their own building. It's in Glendale. But, I mean, Patrick Mahomes has been a different animal in September. You know, we talk about the Jets not winning games in September. Well, Patrick Mahomes doesn't lose games in September. You know, I don't know if that streak ended finally last year, but he was like something like crazy, like 13-0 in September. And I think he's like maybe 14 or 15-1 or something in his career in September. So give me the Chiefs. And, you know, and what I think is, well, I think as a whole, I think they're going to take a little bit of a step back. And that's why I've said I think the Chargers are the better team in the AFC West. I think they'll take that step towards winning the division. I think the Chiefs are going to become more of a balanced team. You know, you're not going to have Tyreek Hill anymore. You know, you're going to have Marquez Valdez Scantling. You're going to have Juju Smith-Schuster. Going to be a bit more of balance on the outside. You know, and obviously you still have Travis Kelce, old reliable at tight end. You know, I think they're going to become a well-oiled machine, and Patrick Mahomes is really going to spread the ball around.
All right, fair enough there. And the brute force, Brad Weiss, obviously, Chiefs, Cardinals, 425 kickoff. Chiefs, 6-point favorites. Cardinals at home, though, 53.5 is the over-under. And what do you think comes out of here?
Yeah, no, I'm not ready to set the alarm yet. I'm agreeing with Chris and Justin. I'm going with the Chiefs as well. And I like that, too, -6. I think they will win by more than a touchdown. I actually, in fact, picked the Chiefs to score the most points in week one by a team. I think that they're going to click this week. And I think Justin just made a good point about how this is going to be more of a team effort. And I think that actually plays to Patrick Mahomes' strength, because you don't have to worry about getting Tyreek Hill the ball. You don't got to worry about Travis Kelce having to get the ball. You have a lot of weapons. And the guy that Justin mentioned, who I actually have on my fantasy team, not saying that I'm being biased here, but I actually think he's going to have a good season for them, is Marquez Valdez Scantling. I think that he's going to really have a good year. He's a deep threat. He's a guy who has some size. You know, and with Juju there as well, I think those two will complement each other very well. So I think that with Mahomes as the quarterback, with Kelce, which is obviously going to get the most attention out of the three, I do think that those guys will do well with that. With Travis Kelce getting the majority of the attention and them getting less attention, I do think that they'll do well with that. And like I said, I think they're going to click. Mahomes is going to get it to many different guys this week for touchdowns, and I got them scoring 38 points. and beating the Cardinals pretty handily this week.
All right, I could see some of that. Let me get to a bunch of comments. And also, if Rob Maraska's out there watching, I'm going to bump you back a little bit. You're going to have to come on at about 10:40 because I ain't going to be ready to talk Mets at the moment. I want to get into a few more games. So you're going to have to wait about 10 more minutes than you would normally came on here. Anthony Finkel says, picks for this weekend, I'm looking for a 3-game parlay. Cardinals will give them a game, but Chiefs will win this match. Also, Anthony says, laughing my ass off, did Kyler actually study his film and playbook? Yeah, we were talking about that earlier in the summer. That was a good one there. That was a good one. Anthony Finkel coming there with the one-liners. And Joey Bostrom says it's a must-win for Arizona. Got to make a statement early, especially after the strong start. And we are joined by John Gonzalez of the Sports Authorities Group. And, of course, on Facebook, please follow the Sports Authorities Group at the Sports Authorities Group. And I even noticed that my friend Steven Saperstein just recently joined the group of all people. I didn't realize he was not so Hollywood anymore. He actually responds to different messages and such, but he did. Yep, he did.
Come on, let's see
And
it.
he says, just go by game, and I'll pick the winner in each one. And John also says he goes with the Chiefs. And also we see that here. A number of people have announced that. Carlos likes the Chiefs as well, 27-24. Over under on a number of Juju TikTok dances. I say 3. 3 maybe? Will that be a fair number? I say 3. I don't know.
Fair.
But let me get to another game here.
Chiefs too, by the way?
What's that?
Are you going with the Chiefs?
To be different, I'll go with the Cardinals just because everybody picked the Chiefs. So I'm gonna go. I'll go Cardinals. I will say it'll definitely go over. I'll say 31-24 Cardinals, just to be over, just to be different. All right, another matchup that I want to go over that I think is an interesting matchup was I think Chris mentioned it: Chargers and Raiders. Obviously, a rematch of the wildest, one of the more wildest end of the season games I've seen in the regular season. Of course, there was a playoff spot on the line and a bizarre situation and overtime. And certainly Las Vegas returns to the postseason due to that. And Chargers, obviously, expectations very high. Arguably, they may have one of the better quarterbacks all around in the league. And Chargers right now, 3.5-point favorites here at home. 52.5 is the over-under with them and the Raiders. And Chris, what do you think happens here in a rematch of the last game of the regular season last year and those Chargers versus the Las Vegas Raiders?
Yeah, it's going to be a good game. And obviously, whenever the Chargers and also the Rams, whenever they're home, it's not really a home game.
No,
like half the crowd is whoever they play. So that's pretty sad. But yeah, I'd like the Chargers. I think the Chargers are the better team. I know the Raiders are going to be better than last year, but their defense is still a little suspect, right? They did give up a lot of points last year. So I'm sure they're going to score points, getting Devontae Adams. So the offense is definitely going to score points. But Chargers, I think, are just a more complete team. And they're loaded as well as the whole AFC West. But they are a loaded team. And if they weren't the Chargers, I'd be a little more confident about putting them in the Super Bowl. But the Chargers just do things sometimes, like you just mentioned, last year's wild game. Just kind of just F things up, But I think it's, to be honest, for me, with the Super Bowl, it's going to come down to the Bills winning the home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And they're going to have that home game late January. And if it's going to be the Chargers playing them in late January in Buffalo, I don't think the Chargers are going to be able to handle that weather. So, but I do like the Chargers in that game. I think they'll win. Well, what's the spread? 3, 4?
3.5. 3.5.
Yeah, I think they'll win by at least a touchdown.
All right, that's fair. And for you, Justin, Chargers 3.5-point favorites against the Raiders at home. 52.5 is the over/under, and let's say you.
What I'll tell you is it's not going to take long for Khalil Mack and Derek Carr to get reacclimated in this game. I think that the San Diego pass rush, the LA pass rush is going to just dominate the Vegas offensive line. And as much as I like the Raiders, and I think the Raiders are going to have a really good season, this game's not going to be close at all.
Okay.
I'm liking the Chargers in a similar statement game, like the Buffalo Bills made on Thursday night. I'm looking at a good 2-3 touchdown victory by the Chargers. I think they're going to come out firing on all cylinders. Their offense with Keenan Allen and Mike Williams Obviously, Eckler in the backfield. They have so many weapons on the offensive side of the ball, and then you look at what they've added to their defense. I mean, they're one of the few teams in the NFL that have close to 0 weak spots on their team, and this is going to be the beginning. And I'm going to campaign for it all year. Mainly now because he's my fantasy quarterback. but before I even had the draft, I said Justin Herbert's going to win MVP this year. This campaign starts now. Over 300 yards, multiple touchdowns.
All right, that's a pick I've seen out there, so that makes sense. And for you, the brute force, Bradley Weiss, Chargers here, 3.5-point favorites over the Raiders. 52.5 is the over/under. And what do you think?
Yeah, well, the first thing I want to say before I make this pick is, Anthony Finkel, you sure you want to disagree with me on all these picks? Because you see here that Justin, myself, and Chris are all agreeing here. All right, so I don't know if you want to disagree. All right, because I agree with both of them again. All right, the Chargers are going to win this game, and they will cover that spread for sure. I do think that they will. I don't see it as a monstrosity, maybe as Justin might think it's not going to be close. I do think it'll be relatively close, meaning it won't be like more than 2 touchdowns. All right, but what I will say is the Chargers are definitely going to win, and for a lot of the reasons that Justin mentioned. Obviously, I also have Justin Herbert in one of my leagues, so I understand the MVP talk. I do think that between him, Lamar Jackson, and maybe one other, those are the guys I like so far as potential MVPs.
Josh Allen.
Yeah, there you go. That's another one. So,
I was thinking Jared Goff.
that guy.
Yeah, Jared Goff too, but we'll get to that later. We'll talk about them later. But ultimately, listen, the Chargers' defense is much improved. I mean, Justin talked about Khalil Mack, but guys like J.C. Jackson as well, defending the wide receivers, and he's going to be on Devontae Adams, which will open up things for Waller. If you're a Waller guy, I'll open up for him. But that's not enough. I don't think that's going to be enough to beat the Chargers. And the Chargers' offense is unbelievable. I mean, we don't give enough credit to a guy like Austin Eckler. He's a great running back. He's one of the best in the league, in my opinion. You got Keenan Allen. You got Mike Williams. They have a really prolific offense. So I think that they're going to be tough to stop with one of the best quarterbacks now in the league. And then you got the Raiders, who are going to be a good team. I just don't think they're on the level with the Chargers right now. And I honestly think right now, if I had to pick it, I would pick the Chargers to win this division. And I wouldn't go as far to say that they can't make the Super Bowl. I think they're going to get really close. I'm not going to say
I'm on that Charger train this year.
I don't know my Super Bowl prediction yet, but what I will say is the Chargers are definitely in my opinion.
Hey,
Wait. The season started. You got to have your Super Bowl pick in already.
Chris said it.
I'm sorry.
Chris said it a little while ago. He said, something always happens. It ends now. This is the year the Chargers will not Charger. The Chargers are my
Charger will not charge.
The Chargers are my AFC pick.
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll find out here. And John Gonzalez is going with the Raiders.
Come on.
You know what? I'm going with them because the Raiders won some games on the road last year also. And the Chargers still, they have had historically trouble in these spots. So I'm still going to say Raiders. I'm going 31-28. And Joey Bostrom says the Chargers are another team with something to prove, but that might be the best game. Again, I think it's going to be a great game. I definitely agree with you. And somebody read my mind. This game is going into a tie. Laugh out loud. And Bosa will score more TDs than any other Raiders tight end. LOL. Yeah, maybe. And he likes Bucks versus Titans as a pick. I think it's an interesting pick, but I don't know about the Titans. But Titans beat the Bucks with Henry's TDs.
No,
Titans
aren't
Buffalo versus the LA Chargers for the AFC title, and that would definitely be an interesting matchup there. And let me go to another matchup, which I think is pretty interesting to talk about, and that would be the Sunday night game, and that is the Buccaneers, the aforementioned Buccaneers. Of course, Tom Brady retires and then comes back and unretires. Was it really an act? I don't know. And Cowboys, everybody always has something to say about the Cowboys, America's team, quote unquote, but they really haven't been America's team in my mind since I'm a little kid. But Buccaneers are 2.5-point favorites here. Dallas at home, 50.5 is the over/under. And Chris, I mean, what do you think here in this matchup? I think this is a really intriguing matchup.
Yeah, I like Tampa in this one. I'm not on Dallas at all whatsoever this year. I think Philly's winning that division. I do not trust Dallas. I know they're home, but Tampa, I think with Brady, I know Brady's got some off the field issues now with his wife and everything else, but I think that's going to give him more of a push to do well this year. So just to kind of concentrate more on the game than what's going on off the field. So and maybe to prove something, not that he has to prove anything, but so I think the Bucks win. It's going to be a close game. What's the spread?
2.5.
Oof. Yeah, maybe a late field goal for Tampa winning that game.
Like one of those games is going to go down to the last couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Definitely screams that.
Yeah, that's what I got. Yeah.
That's fair. All right. Yeah, I could see that. For you, Justin, Buccaneers 2.5-point favorites, 50.5 over the Cowboys. Cowboys at home. I always feel like one way or another, the Cowboys are on either the Thursday night game or the Sunday night game. Intriguing matchup. And what do you think?
I might shock you guys here. But I like the Cowboys in this game.
Okay. Tell me why.
I like the Cowboys in this game because I don't think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers – I don't think the Buccaneers are good. I know they got Tom Brady. I just don't think they're that good. Their offensive line is an absolute disaster. And you're protecting a 45-year-old statue. I just don't know that Brady's going to be able to have the quick release of years past, and that's going to create problems. And we saw what the Rams did to them with a healthy offensive line in the playoffs a year ago. So imagine now Ryan Jensen out for the season. One of your guards retired in the offseason. They're dealing with multiple injuries across the offensive line, and it might be one of the worst offensive lines in football this year. I just don't know I just don't see enough consistency in the Tampa Bay run game to kind of complement Brady. And, you have Chris Godwin coming off the ACL injury. Not sure if he's going to play. It looks like he might, but can't really trust he's going to be 100% right now. So you're really only leaving him with Mike Evans. What's the tight end situation? Gronk retired and everything. So I'm not very high on Tampa Bay this year, and I don't think they're all that good. I think because of the division they're in, they'll sleepwalk their way to maybe a 10-7 season, but I just don't think they're all that good. And this is not even me showing confidence in Dallas as it is me not thinking Tampa's any good. Dallas, I think, will do enough to win a close game.
All right, that's fair. And the Brew Force, you and the Cowboys always seem to be an interesting, kind of polarizing relationship that you have with them. But it's a really, again, intriguing game to say the least. And Buccaneers, 2.5-point favorites here on the road. It's almost one of those games you really want to avoid to pick if you were actually going to bet on these different games. And certainly it's 50.5 is the over-under Sunday night game. I think it's still a good matchup. And what do you think here, the Brew Force, Brad Weiss?
Oh, come on. What do you mean, what do I think? We all know what I think, all right? Because these are the Cowboys we're talking about right now. How about them Cowboys, all right? They're going to start off the season with a bang like they always do and lose, all right? Of course they're going to lose. The Buccaneers are going to win, all right? Now, I totally think all of Justin's points are valid. I think there's a lot to be concerned about with the Buccaneers. But there's just as much to be concerned about with the Cowboys, right? I mean, who are the Cowboys' number one receiver this year? CeeDee Lamb. Am I supposed to be excited about that? No, because I don't think he is a number one receiver. I don't think that James Washington and whoever else they picked up is that much of an upgrade. They were better last year, and they got rid of Amari Cooper, which I thought was a big loss. All right? Ezekiel Elliott is not the same running back anymore. Yeah, Tony Pollard should get more touches, but at the same time, you got Mike McCarthy as the head coach. You trust him to make the right decisions? No way. Okay, so ultimately, these are the Cowboys. They always find a way to mess up. All right, I always say the Stephen A. Smith line because it's true. What can go wrong will go wrong with the Cowboys. They always find a way. And ultimately, I think that in this game, it will be close. But I think the Cowboys find a way to lose, and they'll do it in a similar fashion like they did to end last season. Do something dumb, right? They won't get to the line in time, and they'll lose the game. Something like that. They'll find a way to lose the game.
That was bizarre how they lost a playoff game like that. Thank you very much.
Hey, Brad, it's also September and it's not choke time yet for them. We haven't got to November or December yet.
It's early.
So John Gonzalez here, he likes the Bucks, and Rob Maraska's on here. He's gonna wait. You're gonna wait till 10:40 because I got to get through at least two more games.
There's one counterpoint to Brad's point about the receivers. I do trust CD Lamb as a number one receiver. However, I don't trust the guys around him. And I think that could create an issue throughout the season for Dak Prescott. But I think in this game, I mean, both teams, I think you're really going up. It's weak wide receiver corps versus weak wide receiver corps. Because, again, what really is Chris Godwin at this point, returning from the ACL injury? Obviously you have Mike Evans. What's their tight end situation? Dallas at least has Dalton Schultz to fall back on, and provide a safety blanket. And I think Ezekiel Elliott will be more efficient with more Tony Pollard carries.
All right, let me get to some comments here. Let me get to some people here. How about some Cowboys? I'm going to pick. I'd like to get through some of these comments here because people wanted to give their thoughts. Bucks over Dallas. He's riding with the Bucks, Anthony Finkel. Dallas running backs issue in the offensive line is beat up. Tampa will win that South easily. Yep. This game is not must win. Dallas has all the pressure, and I'm going with Dallas here. I think in a field goal, something tells me here it will be a close game. Something tells me here that it will be one of those games where both teams will make some mistakes. No question, I think the point on Brady and certainly his age could be an issue here throughout the season. But something tells me here, opening week, Sunday night, Dallas finds a way to win where it's a game that both teams certainly give the other teams an opening to win. So I'll say Dallas 27, Tampa 24. That'll pretty much be my thoughts on that. And then I want to get to another game that's also intriguing, 425 game. And this is one of those lines where it's really, you would really want to avoid it. And that's the Packers and the Vikings, 4:25 p.m. game. Packers 1.5 point favorites on the road against the Vikings. Vikings always much maligned, kind of similar to Dallas in that sense. 47 is the over-under. And Chris, what do you think here? Packers and Vikings. Packers 1.5 point favorites, 4:25 p.m. kickoff, and 47 is the over-under.
My thing is with Green Bay, like how do we know how Aaron Rodgers is going to be without Devontae Adams and Scantling and the other receiver they had, their top three receivers? They got a whole new receiving core. So how's this team going to respond to that? That's my biggest question mark with Green Bay. Minnesota I think is going to be pretty good. I mean, coming into every season the past couple of years, we've been feeling that way, and they've been a decent team, but they're just not getting over the hump. Maybe this is the year that they get into playoffs and actually win a couple of games. I'm going to say Minnesota is going to win this game. I think it's going to take Aaron Rodgers a couple of weeks with this team to really get it going. So I'm going to say Minnesota 29-23 over Green Bay.
Okay, yeah, I can certainly see that as a possibility. For you, Justin, Packers 1.5 point favorites here over the Vikings, 1.5 points, 47 over under. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm in a little bit of an agreement with Chris. I think Green Bay pulls out this game. The one receiver of their top three that is returning this year is Allen Lazard. However, Allen Lazard is doubtful for this game. It looks like he's not going to play. So it looks like Randall Cobb is going to be the number one receiver, which, does not exactly bode confidence at this point. Obviously you have Robert Tonyan at tight end, but it's going to be a cast of no-name characters. And I think there's going to be a lot of Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon in this game. I think they're going to have to run the ball well. And I don't exactly trust this Minnesota defense right now. We're going to have to see their defense make significant strides this year if Minnesota wants to contend. Now, in an NFC where maybe 9-8 gets you to the postseason, I think that's about where I find Minnesota. But I just don't think that they're going to be able to slow the Packers down enough. And I think Rodgers will spread it around enough where he'll have some guys make plays, but nobody really has a spectacular game. And then obviously he's going to use Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon to his advantage all game long. And I think that's really how Green Bay wins it. And it's going to be up to the Green Bay defense. And Green Bay is going to come in with a good defense this year. But the Minnesota Vikings have a lot of weapons, and they let Tyler Conklin go in the offseason because they're big fans of Irv Smith Jr. at tight end. Obviously, we know about Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson at the wide receiver position. We all know how good Dalvin Cook is. And Alexander Madison is one of the better backup running backs in the league. So, I mean, there's weapons all over the place. And you could argue there's plenty more weapons on the Vikings than the Green Bay Packers. But, again, it's trusting Aaron Rodgers over Kirk Cousins, regardless of who's out there. And I think it's going to be a very close battle, but I'm going to take Green Bay here.
All right, fair enough. And the brute force, Brad Weiss, Packers 1.5-point favorites against the Vikings. Vikings are at home. 47 is the over-under. And the Vikings, the brute force, as long as we've been together, have always been one of those polarizing teams. They always have the talent. They're always, you think, could finally get on the run, and then they either miss the playoffs or make the playoffs and don't do anything. What's your thoughts on this matchup here? 4:25 kickoff, Packers-Vikings. Packers 1.5-point favorites. 47 is the over-under.
Yeah, so first of all, I want to explain this to our audience because I'm going to do it for the very first time this season, okay? When this comes on the screen, all right, this means the team that is favored to win will not win, okay? I know this is not an upset, okay, because it's a close, like Coach spread, it's supposed to be a close game. But when this comes on the screen, it means that the team that is favored to win will not win. And that is what I'm saying with the Minnesota Vikings will win this game, okay? The Minnesota Vikings will win this game, and I think it's going to be pretty steadily as well. I don't think this is going to be as close as people think. And I think it's for all the reasons that you guys mentioned. I mean, who are Aaron Rodgers' receivers? We talk about, Randall Cobb. We talk about Sammy Watkins, who's been everywhere. I mean, you talk about Dubs, who's a rookie. I mean, they have nobody who knocks your socks off, right? And like Justin said, Lazard is going to be hurt, and he was supposed to be the number one. So when you don't have that, and you're already missing the true number one, who is Devontae Adams, who do you have? Now, the only reason why you could argue that Green Bay might stay in the game is because of their defense. They actually have a really good defense that goes under the radar. They have a good defense. And Minnesota's defense is a little lackluster, but it's competent. I mean, it's not great, but it's competent. It's like a middle-of-the-pack defense. So what I will say is, okay, I think that Minnesota puts up enough firepower on offense, even against Green Bay's defense, just because of the talent. I mean, Justin Jefferson is one of the best wide receivers in football. Thielen is really good still. Dalvin Cook is there. Kirk Cousins, even though we talk about him, I think he's going to have a good year this year. Not great, but good, where the Vikings will at least have success. And that's one of the teams, even though I'm not doing this because my Uncle Rob is a Vikings fan. I'm doing this because I came to the realization that after I trashed the Vikings a few weeks ago, I was kind of wrong. I think they will have a decent year. I think they will be a playoff team, which will, by the way, threaten some of the teams that we talk about, like the Cowboys.
But we always said that with the Vikings, though, is if the Vikings always found a way to make the playoffs, they were one of those teams that could do some damage. So it wouldn't be impossible.
Right. But my point with that is, a team like the Cowboys, who everybody's all like, all hooting and hollering about, okay, I don't think they're going to win their division. They're going to be competing for a wild card.
We'll get to them next. I got one more game before I get to Maraska, so we'll get to them
easily
next.
Snatch a wild card spot, and I know there's 3 this year, so that'll help the Cowboys probably end up getting in. But I'm saying they'll be in that conversation and make the Cowboys, sweat it out a little bit.
Yeah, and I'm going to go with the Vikings as well for whatever reason. Home game early in the year, I think Vikings have something to prove, and I kind of feel like you said, 9-8 is very doable to make the postseason. This was a team that was 8-9. They underachieved a little bit the last couple years. And Kirk Cousins, I do, for whatever reason, kind of agree with Daniel Slavin. And Daniel Slavin's kind of sold me on Kirk Cousins. And the numbers are always there. The record isn't. But I think this might be the year that he has a big year. And I think that Sunday's going to be the start. I'm going to say 28-20 Vikings. And I kind of like them at home here. And let me get to a few other games here. And also, Joey Bostrom says Tampa will make the playoffs, but not playing for the NFC title. Packers versus Rams for the NFC title. Dallas is overrated. John Gonzalez likes the Packers. Anthony Finkel says you like that. And Anthony says bring back the Purple People Eaters. Vikings with Brett Favre I'm going to say Bret Hart for a second. Brett Favre, Percy Harvin, and Adrian Peterson was such a fun team. That was the 2009 team, but the best they've been in a while. Cousins can't win the big game. Well, they were in the championship game the year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, which was 2016.
With Case Keenum.
Yeah, so I mean they've had some success, not a lot. He's not wrong in that. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers and the pack. Relax, and then he puts the cheese heads. Yeah, he's big into Aaron Rodgers, but I do think Kirk Cousins is going to have a big year. But that brings me to at least one other game I wanted to pick. We'll come back to some games in a little while because I know Rob Morosk is waiting here. He's got the Sportzwire shirt on. He's ready for some Mets talk, but not that I really want to talk Mets right now. But I will pick one more game for now, and I'll come back to some games in about a half hour or so. And that game is obviously one of the teams we always talk about here involving those Detroit Lions, and they are at home against the Philadelphia Eagles, and the Eagles 4-point favorites here. 48.5 is the over-under, and expectations are a little bit higher with this Lions team. I think this year, I've certainly said Super Bowl this year is in the works for them. Obviously, I'm confident in them, and certainly for you, Chris, your Philadelphia Eagles. Again, this is a really, really interesting matchup. I have to say, when I saw the games this week and the over-unders and some of the lines, I was like, wow, this is a fun one to pick. And Eagles, Lions, two teams we always talk about here on Sportswire Radio. And let's say you with the Eagles 4-point favorites and 48.5 is the over-under.
Listen, the Lions are definitely on the right track. They definitely are. They're definitely going in the right track, right? So,
all right.
Saying all that, much better team. But they are still a few pieces. I want to say more than a few pieces away from really being a decent team. I think they'll win a few games this year, 5, 6, maybe 7 games. But I don't see them beating Philly. Philly is too loaded this year. I think Hurts has a lot to prove. And because he knows, I think if he has a bad season this year, I think Philly's going to be drafting a quarterback next year because I think they got 2 or 3 first-round picks, and they'll move up if they have to get somebody. So I'm going to pick Philly, and they're going to cover. I think they're going to win by 7, maybe even 10 points this game. But Detroit's definitely in the right track. You know, they're just another year or 2 away, and they need, you know, you hate to say it, but they need a quarterback. Goff is Goff. You know, Goff is an average quarterback maybe. And if you put an average quarterback on a team that's not quite ready yet, he's not going to look that good. So, think about it. Goff didn't look that good with a really good team with the Rams, right? So,
yep.
I'm going to go Philly like 27-13.
All right, that's fair. I could certainly see maybe some of that. And for you, Justin, certainly Eagles and Lions, 2 interesting teams. Lions are definitely on the up. Eagles have some momentum, made the playoffs a little bit earlier than expected. But Eagles 4-point favorites here on the road. 48.5 is the over-under. What do you think?
Well, I'm glad that the Sportswire train has pulled into the station at Steamroll City because that's what we're looking at here. I think this is going to be a complete domination by the Philadelphia Eagles. And you know, there was a comment before of a Packers-Rams NFC Championship.
Yep, Joey Bostrom, yep.
I think the Eagles are going to be one of the finalists for the NFC representative for the Super Bowl this year. I mean, I think they're way too talented. And I think even with the Lions being improved, the Eagles are way too talented for this Lions team right now. And I just don't think, especially having seen what I've seen from Hard Knocks, I don't like the Detroit defense. They got some pieces on offense that are going to be really nice. I really like DeAndre Swift. I really like Hawkinson, the tight end. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown, some of the pieces they have on offense. And I think there's going to be games where they're going to be able to kind of keep up in a shootout. But I just don't think that this is one of those games because, you know, Philly's going to be a team that could really shut you down defensively. And with the pieces they have on offense, I mean, that trade for A.J. Brown, absolutely sensational. I'm a big Dallas Goedert guy. I think Goddard's going to have a really solid year. And Miles Sanders is going to be a full go. So, I mean, the Eagles are really coming to this game 100% healthy. And, there are teams, who are banged up already and are missing pieces going into week 1. But, I think that the Eagles are just going to dominate this game from start to finish. They're just that much more talented.
Well, we'll find out here, and that brings me to the brute force Brad Weiss and a team that certainly you are going to be intertwined with for forever time here, and that is those Detroit Lions. And Lions did play a little bit better toward the end of the season last year, had a couple of nice wins, and Philadelphia certainly was a team that surprised a lot of people, made the postseason maybe earlier than expected, and they're a team that a lot of people fancy right now as a team that could be a dark horse right now and go back to the Super Bowl. And the brute force, I'm kind of hoping I see you pick the Detroit Lions here. But what do you think here? Eagles, 4-point favorites over the Lions. Lions are at home. 48.5 is the over-under. And it looks like a brute force. Brad Weiss. That's, you know what? I got to take a picture of that, but unfortunately I won't. In the meantime, while I come back to that, I will go with some people. And John Gonzalez has the Lions. Also, Lions go undefeated. Philadelphia 27-20. Lions are heading in the right direction. Jodell, where's Rob? Rob's going to be on in 2 minutes. I'm holding him because I got to get through one more football game. So I promise I'm going to get to the Met talk. I got to get to it, but I got NFL games. I got one more game to pick. And that's the brute force Brad Weiss. So he's going to come on here. I got 2 minutes. I just want to get to the brute force Brad Weiss. I want to get to his pick between the Lions and the Eagles here. So we will definitely do that. The brute force has left the building. Yes, he has left the building for now. And Joe says he's digging the Jets hats here. And certainly, it was something he was posted on Facebook, Joe. You were looking for something. I forget what it was, but there was something you had posted on Facebook asking something. Yeah, maybe I'm getting
this is now going to make it 3 of us.
Then we get a Jets hat here. Well, I'm going to give the brute force 30 seconds. If he doesn't come on in 30 seconds, I'm going to get on Rob Moras because I feel bad. I know he's been waiting for about 15 minutes, but I did want to get through some games here because it is NFL season, and I'm not really that excited to speak about Mets and Yankees right now, considering the performances that both teams have had, and certainly the Mets are holding on for dear life. And there we go. Before we get to Rob Maraska, the brute force Brad Weiss. You're certainly up. Last but not least, your favorite topic here. You're always going to be intertwined with the Detroit Lions, one of your favorite teams. And Eagles are 4-point favorites over the Lions. Lions are at home. 48.5 is the over-under. And let's say you.
Yeah, I mean, why did it have to do that to me? I mean, it was my time to shine. I was getting excited. I was getting. This is my topic. John Gonzalez is getting off his chair. He's getting on his feet. Like everybody's getting hyped up. They're talking about the Lions. But here's the thing about the Lions, all right? First of all, the TV disconnected. It doesn't matter. I do have the Eagles winning this game, so there is no upset alert. But what I will say is this. I completely disagree with Justin Gianelli on the score of this game. I actually picked Detroit to cover the spread. And I think that they're going to keep it close. And this game is going to be entertaining for the wrong reasons, though. I do think that this game is like 20-17, maybe 23-20, something like that. I think that, I like Jalen Hurts, and I do think he's going to lead this team to the playoffs, obviously, as a division winner. And I think they could win a playoff game or two. But this is week 1, and I think that Jalen Hurts still has time to grow. And I don't think this will be his best game. I think he does throw it through interceptions. I do think he will struggle a little bit. And I think ultimately the Eagles will still win, but they will not win convincingly. It will be close. The Detroit Lions will make it exciting. And me and John Gonzalez are going to be like, oh, my God, it might happen, but it won't. All right, ultimately, I have the Eagles winning, like I said, either 2017 or 23-20. But this will be an exciting game, and me and John Gonzalez will enjoy as Detroit Lions supporters right now.
Well, I'm going with the Detroit Lions because Anthony Finkel said Lions. I'm going with the Lions. Yeah, why not? They're at home. They had some momentum at the end of the season last year.
Don't make me change my pick. You're tempting me, Tom. You're tempting me.
I think that, listen, there's no question before I get to Rob Maraska and the Mets, there's no question that the Eagles have a lot going for them, but Detroit played okay for what they were in the second half last season, especially those last 5 or 6 games. And something tells me here, you know what, there's something to prove there. And I kind of feel like that they could be in that mix for 6 or 7 wins. And this is one of those kind of games that they could win if they're going to get to a 7-10, 8-9, and be competitive, because we've all agreed, right? 9 wins is going to take the last spot in the NFC for a wild card spot? Well, why not the Lions? It might be their year. Look at the teams that they could be better than: the Falcons, the Bears, the Giants.
Can we snap back to reality for a minute? This team's not winning more than 4 games. They're not.
We went through that. Well, we went through their schedule 4 months ago, and we were all saying, all right, maybe 6, maybe 7.
Yeah, but those teams get to enjoy the fact that they have the Lions on the schedule.
Ask the Minnesota Vikings, though, how did they deal with the Detroit Lions in the second half last? So
that's why that they care. They're ready to come out and prove everybody wrong, and I think that's going to be fun.
All right. I'm going to come back to the Lions because I got Rob Morosky, and he doesn't really have the football insight that the rest of us have, and no disrespect there, but New York Mets, obviously, that's his topic in Major League Baseball. I'll come back to football in a little while. I'll pick a few more games here, but Mr. Morosky, everybody said, this Mets team, they got the easiest schedule in baseball, and it's going to be a cakewalk. They don't even have to show up, and now I see it now where I got Starling Marte, who's got, it looks like he's going to be going on the injured list. And if he doesn't go on the injured list, I don't know how he's going to grab a bat. I got Max Scherzer, who's on the injured list now. And this team is playing teams that they should have no problem with. And here we are, and they're struggling with them. And I think right now it looks to be as if the New York Mets, unfortunately, are going to lose this National League East lead that they've had pretty much since day one.
Well, they only one day they were only out of first place.
Yep.
I don't know. I think you put the jinx on the Mets, Tom.
No, I think the brute force Brad Rice put the jinx because he kept talking about confidence and confidence and confidence and confidence. And you know what? You can only have confidence so much. And listen, it hasn't been as if the Mets have played poorly, but the Atlanta Braves just don't lose. I mean, the Mets are 87-52, so it isn't as if the Mets have really played poor baseball. It's just the Braves have probably played about 750 balls since June 1st.
Yeah, plus right now is the wrong time for the Mets to go into a slump, this time of year and playing the weak teams. But, a slump was due to happen. The Braves are playing like World Series champions right now, and, that's what's going on.
And they are World Series champions, and there's no question about it. And, I mean, obviously, look, Mr. Morosky, the Mets got to figure it out here soon because I'm looking at it right now, and sometimes what happens in sports, and we were speaking about this, and I'll get the guy's perspective in a second, but sometimes you play these teams, and they may, in the standings, may not be as good as you, but they've got motivation, and we've seen this with the Mets in the past, prior Met teams, and I hate to bring up the history, but we've seen it in 2007 and 2008 and other years where these are the kind of teams the Mets historically always have trouble with, and I see the Marlins, and I see we've got some other teams on the schedule still, and you know what? These teams are going to have some motivation. They're going to want to make the Mets have to work for it, and that's what's going to happen here, I think.
Well, obviously, I mean, they are all major league teams, so that's the goal. They want to really, make the Mets work for it, and they want to play the spoilers. So that's what's happening right now. By the way, the Braves lead 3-2. So the Mets tomorrow may be in second place.
And the Atlanta Braves 63-24 since June 1st. So that's just about close to, as I had pointed out, about 700 balls, a little under 750. And I got a few comments in here before I get to some of the different guys. John Gonzalez says, good man, Tom. Thank you, John, for your support. As always, sports authorities on Facebook, please support them as well. And Anthony Finkel says, Rob, we missed you. How the hell are you? It's Timmy Trumpet's fault. Yeah, maybe. When Steve Saperstein was talking about Timmy Trumpets, I'm like, now we've lost this whole thing. When he was talking about it, of all people. Joe Odell says Mets will still make the playoffs. So the Mets will definitely make the playoffs, but they're going to probably lose their grip on the National League East. Anthony Finkel says, the guys got me to put on my Jets hat at home. LOL. Jet, fill in the blanks up. Joey Bostrom says, can't lose to the Nationals and the Pirates. Unacceptable. Absolutely. You cannot lose to these teams like the Marlins, who have nobody in their building, the Pirates, who have nobody in their building, have a AAA team, the Nationals, who are pretty much playing out the string except for a couple of different players, and 12-5 is what John Gonzalez has to say. And I'll come to Chris and Justin in a second, but the Brute Force, I want to ask you this in a different way. I don't want to go on the confidence. I don't want to go on it. I want to go on this in a different way because First of all, you were a player. You've been on both ends of the coin. You've been a player that went on a run and made the postseason, and you were a player that was playing out the string on some unfortunately difficult teams at SJC. So I want to ask you this question in two different ways. And first is, I would have to imagine if you're the Marlins right now, you actually might be really more motivated than your record may lead on to, because you would love to knock the New York Mets off their perk, which is what the Marlins did tonight. Secondly, I would also think conversely, if you're in that Met clubhouse right now, when you're seeing the fact that Scherzer goes down, Marte's probably going down, and certain guys are struggling. I look at Lindor, the double play tonight, and I look at some other guys here that are coming back to earth a little bit here. Alonso, even though we hit the home run, he's come back to earth a little bit. And when you have James McCann is really your best hitter right now, that's got to be a cause of concern. So give it to me in two ways, the Brute Force. If you're a player on the Mets end, you see guys like Scherzer and Marte, arguably two of your most important players, going down or about to go down. Then if you're the Marlins end, which you've played that role a lot more than you were on the Mets end, when I kind of think they have a lot more motivation than people would lead on to.
Absolutely. I think, we talked about a little bit at the beginning of the show where the Marlins have nothing to lose, and that's one of the hardest teams you could play because they don't have anything to lose. All of them, by the way, are fighting for their jobs. They want to stay in the major leagues. A lot of those guys want to earn a paycheck next year. And that's not something that, again, you take for granted. Those are guys that are fighting to stay in the major leagues. So I do think, and some of them, as by the way, I should also say, some of them wanted to play better so they could play on a better team. Think about like the Miguel Rojas's or the Coopers of the world. These guys, right, not only are trying to play well for the Marlins, but they're also trying to play well to persuade other teams that they want them next year. So that's another thing. Now, what I'll say about being a Marlins player, like I said, is, every day, and again, I've been in their shoes. I've been on bad teams before that haven't been going anywhere, and they were out of the playoffs pretty early. But the one thing that you try to do is set mini goals for yourself. And Tom, for sure, one of those mini goals I know that has to be in the Marlins clubhouse is let's beat the teams in our division so that, they lose their playoff track or whatever, like the Mets and the Braves. Like they want to beat those teams because that's the goal. They're not thinking about other teams. But when the Mets and the Braves come in, or the Phillies, for example, right, those are the teams that are in your division. Those are the teams that you play the majority of the season. Those are the teams you're like, yeah, I want to beat them. Just think about it in my sense, Tom. When we played Yeshiva and Farmingdale, there was no better team that we wanted to go and beat bad.
Absolutely. The last two games of your career. Listen, those were two of the best games I think the team played that 1920 season.
Those two were by far the two best teams, but those are the teams that we were like, yeah, we're going to go and get those guys. Like, we want to beat the best. We want to go and we want to make those guys, right, take a loss and whatever. And we have to feel better about ourselves when we beat those teams. So that's part of it as well. Now, if I'm a Mets player, and me and Justin talked about this last week when we were talking about the schedule and how it was going to be in September, you have to just worry about your own business. I feel like right now the Mets are thinking too much of, the Braves won again. The Braves won again, right? Rather than, right, taking care of your own business, winning the games you need to win, right? And ultimately, I think that's not only on the players right now, but as much as we talk glowingly, and Justin mentioned it earlier, that's also on Buck Showalter right now. I agree with you on that. Critical on him because he's playing to go to the next day, right? He's thinking about the next day before the present day, right? A little bit, and that's a problem, right? We need to win every game, especially against these teams, as we mentioned. And we're playing and we're pitching guys like Medina when I was at the game against the Nationals, right? That didn't do anything. And again, we were down 1 run going into the ninth inning. You put in Medina, he lets up 5 runs, game's over. So ultimately, you have to be smarter with those decisions because every game matters. And you have to focus on yourself and not the other team, which I think the Mets are doing too much of, looking at the Braves, getting worried about the Braves, and not taking care of their own business because they had the opportunity to do so. And even right now, let's just say the Braves win tonight and they're in second place. They could easily dwell on that, or they could just go out and beat the teams that they're supposed to beat, which they're still going to play. They got Miami. They got Chicago. They got Pittsburgh. They have the opportunity in front of them to go on a hot streak here and get back into first place or stay in first place. But right now, again, I think they're too much worried about the next day. They're too much worried about what the Braves are doing, and they need to worry more about themselves and what they need to do. And ultimately, also to your point, Tom, not worry about the injuries. Next man up. Who's going to step up? And
that's
again,
what we always say in basketball. We always say at college basketball, we always say next man up.
You know, like Tyler Naquin, step up right now. Darren Ruff, do something.
Oh my God, Darren Ruff! I'm tired of seeing him at bat.
Useless.
I mean,
Absolutely
Darren
useless.
Naquin has had a good month,
Yep.
but tonight wasn't
What
his
a
game. I will
horrible
say that.
trade, by the way. We said it from day one, but it really looks
Ah.
bad right now. I mean,
Ah.
you gave up some nice pieces for him, and he's done absolutely nothing, right? Vogelback was hot at the beginning, but he ain't doing nothing.
Well, he's
right
like what 3 for like 300 now. He's like 3 for his last guy can't hit no more.
So
They can't run.
some of those guys need to step up. You know, a lot of the weight of the shoulders has been on Alonso and Lindor and McNeil. These guys have done it for you all year. They hit a little bit of a funk.
Lindor had some bad luck tonight, I think for sure. McNeil had some bad luck. Canna had some bad luck on a couple of swings. They had good at bats, but to be fair, before I get to Justin and Chris, thanks to the Cracks After Gifters, the Mets haven't played terrible, and I want to make that point. I haven't said they've played terrible. They're actually 53-35 since June, so that means they've played about 600 baseball. So it's not like the Yankees. The Yankees have just kind of imploded here. But the Mets have played relatively great ball. It's just that the Braves have gone on a run that's pretty much second to none. And I mean, Justin, I know we kind of touched upon it a little bit, but I mean, do you agree with the Brew Force, or is there something else with this Mets team that you think that they need to do here between now and the rest of the season?
They need a wake up call because I feel like the effort's gotten a little bit lackluster of late. It feels like when they're down in games, you don't quite get the sense that they're coming back like you did earlier in the season, and the decisions that Buck Showalter has made, like I documented earlier, on who's pitching when, and who he brings into a game. Like I'm trying to think what game it was. The first game in Pittsburgh.
Yep.
On Tuesday night, you're down 4-2, and I get it. He was warming up to begin with, so I understood why they brought in Bryce Montes de Oca to pitch the seventh inning. I get that. And guess what? He got through that seventh inning scoreless. But why wasn't Edwin Diaz or why wasn't Adam Ottavino off a rainout on Monday? Off a rainout on Monday and a blowout on Sunday where you didn't use your two top relievers. Why are they not pitching the bottom of the eighth inning so that you could be down 4-2 with a chance to rally in the ninth? And that was the same exact thing that reared its ugly head tonight. I've loved a lot of what Buck Showalter's done this year, and I still think he should be the manager of the year. However, he is really melting under pressure right now, and the Mets need somebody to wake this team up because right now they look lazy. They look like they want to play down to their competition. There's just no sense of urgency. Max Scherzer went down early in the season, and the Mets went 26-15 with that, or 25-16 without him. They stepped up. Guys were stepping up earlier in the season. Guys need to step up again. And yes, I want to give credit where credit's due. Eduardo Escobar, that bat's really waking up. And you know what? If I'm Buck Showalter, I start to think about potentially using Eduardo Escobar as my DH next week when Luis Guillorme returns from the injured list. And have
That's the name we haven't heard in a while.
And you have that defense back at third base with Luis Guillorme, and you keep Escobar's bat in the lineup because right now, Escobar's bat has been really solid. Tomas Nido had a 2-hit night. James McCann's been swinging a good bat. Now everybody else has started swinging a good bat. So we get that.
Guys had good at bats tonight. There was some bad luck. I mean, there was some hard hit balls.
No, I would say, you know what? And tonight, while tonight's frustrating, tonight was not one of those non-competitive nights. Tonight was a night where they hit into some bad luck. Things just didn't go their way. But that's what happens. You get extra frustrated when you don't have room for error. When the Braves win every freaking night, that's what you're dealt with.
It just reminds me so much of, like you said, Dodgers, Giants last year. I think about the 93 Braves and Giants where the Braves just never lost. Both teams win 100 games, and thankfully we have extra wild cards, so we're not going to get to that point here.
But now you're looking at a potential series against the San Diego Padres, whom you struggled against. You lost 4 out of 6 against, as opposed to a potential Cardinals, Phillies, Cardinals, Brewers matchup, which would be the 3-6. And facing that winner.
I would love to get
But
the Brewers. I
now
mean, they
you'd have to
definitely got
face.
their work cut out.
But now, if you're in the wild card, you have to face the San Diego Padres as the potential 5 seed. And guess what? If you win that series, guess what? There comes the LA Dodgers again. Not that I truly fear the Dodgers, but the Dodgers are great.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Mets certainly
they're unbelievable. How good they are.
You know what, Justin? Unfortunately, look, there is a point to the fact that, look, the Braves have just played great ball. Mets haven't played terrible, but unfortunately, the Braves, they've gone on the roof. They've been like
the Atlanta Braves. The Atlanta Braves are the second best team in the National League.
Oh, yeah. No question.
Only the Dodgers are better.
And they might be the second best team in baseball right now. There's a possibility they might be.
Yeah, you want to debate them or Houston? That's my point.
That's my point. All right, so Chris, help me out here because obviously the Mets here, we've heard about their story. The Yankees are down 4-1 going into the bottom of the 9th inning, and I kind of heard Buck Showalter a little bit. Now, I'll touch upon it in a way. I'll tie in here Aaron Boone because obviously he has been much maligned here, and we have definitely spoke about him quite a bit here over the past several weeks on Sportzwire Radio. And do you think it is for both teams right now where it's the managers really are kind of just being outmanaged by different teams when it comes to a Showalter and Boone as to why maybe both teams have kind of slowed down a little bit?
I don't think so. I think the Mets are still fine. It's just that the Braves are just playing out of their minds, right? They're playing like 700 ball or whatever. The Mets actually have had a better second half than first half. First half, they won 58. They were 58-35.
Yep.
It was a 624 winning percentage. Second half,
29-17 now.
29, yeah. It's 29-17 now. But before that, they were 29-16. They were 644. So they're right there. I mean, they're playing really good. It's just that the Braves are just playing. They're just not losing, right? So there's nothing you could do about them. I think you guys both said that the first. You can't worry about what the Braves do. You only got to worry about what you guys do. Right. And the better thing is you still got 3 more games left against them, and you've beaten them. You're 9-7 against them this year, so you have that going for them. Like they have to beat you. You know what I'm saying? They still have to prove that they could beat you guys, and that has not happened yet. So that's what you guys have on your side. You have like, hey, we're in first place. Okay, you might be a half game ahead or behind or whatever, but that series, I think, is going to determine who wins the division or not because you're both playing great. So if you guys could take 2 out of 3 there, that might be the deciding factor in the whole division, and that might be a deciding factor if you're going to play, the 3 games in the wild card or if you're going to be sitting there with the bye, and I think that's what it comes down to. And I don't think Showalter is getting out-coached or anything like that. And Boone, trust me, I'm not defending him. I'm not saying he's a great coach or anything, but when you look at the lineup that you look at the players he's using, it's ridiculous. I mean, I don't know. I can't kill him for it, because he's got half his starting lineup hurt. He's throwing out rookies that have just come up in the last couple of weeks. So I can't really kill the guy for what's going on. I mean, I could have killed him for the first month or so when they were playing bad from the All-Star break until maybe about a week or two ago. Yeah. He had to do something to get this team going and it just wasn't working. So, but
I agree with Chris on that, by the way, because I think that, you had mentioned.
And a score update, by the way, 4-2 now, Rays. Kyle Higashioka, forgive me for the pronunciation.
I just say
one there.
Higashioka.
There you go. Thank you very much.
Braves just scored another run.
Yeah, but I just want to make a quick point, first of all, because I think Chris is 100% right. I think that when he made the point a few weeks ago, I wasn't as sold on it. But with the current roster and the lineups that are being run out, at least right now, for sure, I mean, you can't put that on Boone. It's the guys that are in the lineup that are not getting it done, and they just don't have the roster to blame it on Boone right now. I think that we could have, like Chris just made a great point, we should have and could have maybe a little bit earlier in this cold streak. But right now, I just don't think so. I agree with Chris. And I just wanted to say this because I wanted to let it out while we're talking baseball right now.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Bryce, do you know what the Phillies' record is since Bryce Harper came back?
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, boy.
Well, it's about 500, right?
No,
about 500.
No, it's not. It's under 500. 3 games under 500. So I'm telling you, I'm just going to keep reiterating it every week. I'm going to find a little spot to do it. Okay. They're already proving me right. They're already proving me right.
But they won tonight, though.
So that makes it 2
And they
games.
won the last series they played.
But still, I'm telling you, they're just not as good with him as they are without him. I'm just telling you. You guys can all laugh at me all you want, but it's true, and he's proving it right now.
Yeah, but the Brewers lost tonight, though, so they gained ground. So at the end of the day, I mean, for the Phillies, they just want to make the postseason. I mean, I think they're still in a position where they're all right, but let's get to a few comments. The Braves are playing like the Yankees did in the first half of the season. Excellent point there, Joe. And the records are just about identical. And Joe Dell says, outside of a few games, we need to heat up those bats. I mean, well, when it comes to the Mets and certainly even the Yankees, I mean, it's been peaks and valleys. Yankees are much more in a valley when it comes to the lineup. Let's see if they can pull through tonight. Hopefully get back in here. But I'll come back to the Mets and Yankees in a second. But I want to talk about Albert Pulos again because Albert Pulos is making this interesting here. He's now 5 away from 700, and he's getting closer and closer. And it's going to be a matter of does he run out of time or does he find a way? He's certainly got the fountain of youth. And Rob Marasco, what do you think here now? There's the Pulos Weekly Watch on Sportswire Radio continues. And what's your thoughts?
Well, you know what? At one point, we didn't think he was going to make it. I think, he may do it, and I want to see him do it. It's just I don't know what's going on since the All-Star break, but it's been since the All-Star break, and he's just hitting them out there. And I think that he has a good chance to get 5 more home runs. I mean, how many more games do they have left?
About 23. 23.
Yeah, 23. I think he could do it. I mean, I want to hear what the other guys think, but now I do think, he could do it.
All right. Well, certainly we'll find out. And for you, Justin, I mean, Pujols, does he find a way? I know you kind of had your thoughts on it a few weeks ago, but he's making this interesting. He's definitely making this where it could be very tantalizingly close here.
Yeah, I think we are going to reach a point where he does get it done before the end of the season. We still have just shy of a month left. Like you documented, 23 games left for the St. Louis Cardinals. I think there's every opportunity for him to do it. We'll see how much Oliver Marmol puts him in the lineup. And you know what? There might be an opportunity for them to put him in the lineup every day because they have such a big lead in the National League Central. They might clinch this division early, and they might be able to just run Pujols out there and say, go ahead, swing away, and I think he's going to get there.
All right. Well, we'll certainly see. I mean, Chris, obviously, this is making it interesting. Give us at least a little bit of a distraction, a diversion from the Met and Yankee struggles here, and it's going to be very close. I mean, what do you think here? Does he find a way, Albert Pujols?
I really hope so because, I mean, it's something we're not going to see for a long time. I mean, 700 home runs. We have to really appreciate what he's doing, and I really hope he gets it. I mean, he's got enough games. What does he need? 4 more? I think he'll do it. I really do. Hopefully down the stretch, if they play a really bad team that's out of it, maybe they'll throw a couple of meatballs up there for him so he could do it. Hopefully, But I'm definitely rooting for him, man. It would be great for baseball for him to do it. It'd be nice to have that on national TV. Give baseball a little extra exposure down the stretch here. But I'm definitely rooting for him, and I think he's going to get it.
All right, we'll certainly see. And the Brewforce, Brad Weiss, I know you're all over the place when it comes to this topic here, and he's making it close. I mean, I'm almost starting to think about what I said a couple of weeks ago. If he gets like 2 or 3 home runs shy with maybe a week or so to go, do they kind of just like find ways to kind of slide the baseballs in or pitch it differently? But I mean, what do you think here, the Brewforce?
So I'm gonna go with the guys and say he does do it, but I'm a little bit hesitant with that just because of what you guys just said. I actually think that a lot of people are saying, well, if he gets in the lineup more at the end of the season, then maybe that'll be better for him. Well, you got to also think about the mental part of this, the psychology of this. What is he going to be thinking when he's hitting? He's going to try to swing for the fences. He's going to try to swing hard, right? And that's not exactly the best way to do it. Now, if there's anyone that might have the mental fortitude to not do that, it might be Albert Pujols. But I do get concerned with if, he's at 698 going into the last week, whether he's going to try to overswing or do too much. I hope that's not the case. I'm going to say that he does do it because I think he is a consummate professional, and I think he will still take the same approach. But I do get concerned that, again, when you have that type of pressure and you want to do it so bad, like you kind of sense it that the fans want it bad, he wants it bad. It gets to be a little bit tough. But like I said, I think I'll say Albert Pujols gets exactly 700, and I think it'll be in the last series of the year, which will make it fun for baseball as well.
Well, he is definitely on a little bit of a tailspin going into action here tonight. He's 2 for his last 22. He's down to 260. Obviously, very predictable that was going to happen here for sure when it comes to King Albert. In 5 home runs, he's away from it, so we'll certainly see what happens. Cardinals do lose tonight here, 8-2. 23 games are left in the season for the Cardinals, and Pulos goes 0 for 2 tonight, so he's 2 for his last 24, so we'll see here, but the Cardinals are in firm control here. But some other scores of note here. Cubs and the Giants, 4-2 Cubs over the Giants. Cubs and Giants both playing out the string. We just mentioned the Pirates and Cardinals. Marlins beat the Mets 6-3. It is now final in the Bronx. Rays 4, Yankees 2. That's a tough loss for the Yankees. Yankees have to find a way here and get a victory tomorrow, to say the least. Phillies 5, Nationals 3. Orioles, who took a huge step back, I think, a little bit this past week here and losing 3 of the 4 from the Blue Jays. 3-2 winners, though, against the Red Sox. Blue Jays 4, Rangers 3. Guardians 7, Twins nothing in a game that both teams desperately need. And for whatever reason, somebody has to win the American League Central Division. Somebody has to win that division.
Cleveland.
We'll see whoever comes out of it. Well, we'll see. I mean, you know what? You could make a case for all 3 of them at this point. I mean, they're separated by a game and a half going into here. Tigers 10, Royals 2, Reds, big win for them and big loss for the Brewers. 8-2, they get a victory. Astros 4, Angels 3, and it must be a football score there. Is it Broncos and Cardinals? No, it's Diamondbacks and Rockies. It's 10-10, bottom of the 8th there, and Braves 4 now, Mariners 3, so hopefully we'll get some help.
By the way, in that game in Denver, 504-foot home run from C.J. Cron tonight.
Wow, 504 feet. Boy, that's definitely
in Denver.
That sounds like a game that would be a must-watch. In Oakland 3, White Sox none, and so certainly a game there that probably has about 40 people there attending. And
the Oakland's throwing a no-hitter today so far against the White Sox, so that's got to be.
Hey, shut your mouth over there. You don't say that.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything there, but I wasn't going to say anything there, but
by the way, that Cub game was big for my fantasy baseball playoffs because I had Drew Smiley, and he gave a big performance today against that San Francisco lineup.
All right, we'll see about that. And the Padres are up 3-1 over the Dodgers. Let me get to a couple of comments. And Joe Dell says 2 packs of Winston's. Okay, there. And Joey Bostrom says, I think it's going to be close, but I think he'll do it. Same goes for Judge. So let's go to Judge so we can kind of get off the plank here when it comes to the Yankees. We'll go back and come to the Bronx Bombers here. So Rob Maraska, what do you think here? Does Aaron Judge find a way here? Now, he's got to get 7 home runs to top Roger Maris. Do you think he finds a way in these next 20-some-odd games? Because, boy, the Yankees are going to need him right now.
Yeah, I think he's got a good shot at it. I mean, 7 home runs, and he plays his home games in Yankee Stadium, so come on. So, yeah, I think – I mean, they could pitch – they're going to be pitching around him also, I know, because it's just what's going on there right now is horrible, and the Yankees definitely look like the Mets looked like in like 2000 in the mid 2000s when they choked. So
yep, 2007, 2008. Boy, I mean, The only thing I can say about the Yankees is thank God we've got added wild cards. That's the only saving grace right now, but it certainly is definitely tenuous when it comes to the American League East. And the Brewforce Brad Weiss, obviously Aaron Judge, we're getting closer and closer. Does he find a way to get to 62 home runs? Some people say it's the unofficial record. I don't know, but when it comes to Yankees history, it is the record. But do you think Judge here gets 7 more home runs? Something tells me, though, that he's going to get pitched around to quite a bit, especially now that the Yankees have given everybody now a chance to take that division from him.
Yeah, I said this last week. I'm going to stick to it for now, maybe change next week, but I don't think he does it. And I think it's for that exact reason. I mean, if you're a baseball team, any baseball team, going against Aaron Judge, why are you even going to pitch to the guy? The Yankees don't have anyone else in the lineup that's proven to you that they can get it done. Like they can get the big hit, that they can, produce. So as much as it stinks, because again, as a fan, right, of baseball, I would like to see it happen, like for Aaron Judge. But again, other teams that are competing against them, they don't want to see that happen. They don't want to let the home runs up to Aaron Judge. And certainly if I'm a team, right, and Aaron Judge is in any situation that threatens us either tying or going down in the game, I am not giving him anything good to hit. Not at all. Whoever's behind him right now, I'll face him proudly. I would even go as far to say that if the bases were loaded, right, and you're winning by 2 runs, walk him and let the 1 run come in and face the next guy. I mean, at this point, like he's really the only threat. So you have to, right, again, not what I want as a fan, but I just think that teams are going to do it because the Yankees are going to be in the race right now. They are. They're going to be in the race for this division and for, whatever spot they're going to get in the wild card because they're just tumbling. And the further they tumble, the lower they're going.
That's for sure. And Justin, I mean, I'm kind of in agreement with the Brew Force a little bit here, but what do you think? Does Judge find a way to get these 7 more home runs, or does he just get pitched around and start to get that Bonds treatment? What do you think?
Yeah, I think he starts to get pitched around, and you couldn't find 1 ounce in me that even cares about this home run thing because look, I know it would be the Yankee record, it'd be the American League record, but it's not the record. Stop. 61 was dead in 1998. 61 was dead in 1998. And you know what? MLB chooses to recognize Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa. So we're going to recognize Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, and Sammy Sosa. And so 61 really has no meaning to me. Like I said, I know it's the American League record. I know it's the Yankee record, but it's not a big deal. But to play along with this, no, I don't think he gets it. I think they're going to – why on earth did anybody pitch to him? Why? Hell, they're putting him in the leadoff spot now so that he's guaranteed to get pitched to in the first inning. I'd walk him to start the game.
Right? I would. I would never pitch to him.
I mean, chances are he's going to get left on base.
Well, looking at that lineup tonight, I mean, some of the names, I think Aaron Hicks. I mean, I saw what I see on Twitter that there was Joey Gallo chance tonight when Aaron Hicks was at bat. That's how low it's gotten. I mean, I don't even know how you can trot that guy in the lineup at this point. I mean, it's sad. True. I mean, but that lineup is amazing.
Aaron Hicks was batting third, and Kiner Falefa was batting fourth tonight. Jesus.
But Kiner Falefa's actually had some big hits lately. I mean, he's been better with his bat than his glove. I mean,
he's got one of the. I think he's in the top 5 highest averages in high pressure situations this year. IKF.
Yeah, that's true.
How I have no idea, but if you're asking me how to work it, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he has 3 at bats. He's got 2 hits. I don't know, but it makes no sense.
I don't know either. I mean, he's actually, with this bat, been one of the better Yankees. I mean, that's the scary part about this team. I mean, I look at this lineup up and down, and it's just how the mighty have fallen here. I mean, I look at all these different guys, whether they've had injuries or not, and Stanton, that's a whole other thing. I mean, obviously the Carpenter injury. I mean, Chris, I feel like, call me crazy, but I think about this team. Maybe that was where the moment that the lineup really kind of went south was when Carpenter went down.
It could be because that was like the beginning of it, right? Once he went down, then it was one after another. Stanton was down first actually from the from the All-Star break, right? So,
I remember that. Yep, we spoke about that.
I still think I'm not sure if he's going to get it, but I still think what he's doing is pretty amazing because it's something we haven't seen in so long. And if you take away the 4 years, I'm not saying they don't count. The Bonds and Sosa, that whole era right there.
99, 2001.
If you take out those those years, not saying they're not counting, but I'm just saying take them out for a second. When was the last time we seen 60 home runs?
We almost saw it 5 years ago, Chris.
Stanton
Right.
hit 50.
Stanton at 59. He came
Right, but he
close.
didn't do it. That's the whole
Didn't
thing.
Ortiz hit over 50 also one year as well, if I'm not mistaken? Didn't
Ortiz at 54. Not
Yeah.
So and A-Rod's high was 54.
A-Rod hit 50 a couple times.
60
Yeah,
is
he
a
did.
big number,
He hit 57 as well.
regardless of if it's breaking a record or not.
Alonso obviously hit over 50 as well a couple years ago.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Closest to
Justin.
reaching 60.
I'm with you, Justin. It's the record is Bonds. As long as it's in the record book, to me, it's a legit record. So I'm not saying it's not a legit record. It's just that seeing someone hit 60 home runs, we don't see that often, So I think it's still a big achievement. It's still something that you're gonna be like, wow, I seen someone hit 60 home runs.
I think it's almost like in a way when we saw Miguel Cabrera chase for the Triple Crown. That was a big deal.
Yeah, it's something that you just don't see often. The Braves just hit a home run, 5-3.
Listen, the Braves are going to win. Listen, you can book it. The Braves are going to find a way.
They're going to sweep. They're going
to win these games. I was watching their games against Oakland in the middle of the week, and that's what happened. Oakland ties at the Braves in the top of the sixth, and I think they scored 4 runs in the 2.
Brad always have an answer.
His confidence thing up, man, because we're losing it here.
Well, the Braves are confident now.
There you go.
But, they've also had guys that have come up. They've had timely at-bats. They have a good lineup. They made some good moves as well at the deadline. And Joey Bostrom says 60 is a big number. It would be cool for baseball. Yeah, I agree. I even think back to 1994 during the strike-shortened season when it was Matt Williams had 43 home runs. Ken Griffey, I think, had 40. Frank Thomas was around 40. And you had, I think, Jeff Bagwell was at 38 home runs, and there were different guys that were kind of challenging. That was the year where I think somebody might have hit it. Tony Gwynn was at 394 that year. So, listen, I think 60 home runs regardless. I do inclined to agree that, listen, if Bonds hit 73, McGuire hit 70, Sosa hit 60 a couple different times, they definitely passed it. But we'll see if Judge does find a way to get something in the magic potion there. You're going to certainly need it. The Yankees definitely are on the ropes here a little bit. We'll see if they get it in acts here. And we're on Sportswire Radio speaking all things related here to the world of sports with Rob Marasco, who's also wearing the Sportswire shirt. And Joey Bostrom also has something here. Yep, I see it. I really appreciate that. I should be wearing mine, but I just didn't do that. But, hey, that's okay. Joey Bostrom says, imagine if the 1994 season didn't end, Expos would have won the World Series. Yeah, maybe they would have won. Who knows, right? That's always one of those like
Expos Yankees.
Yeah.
And maybe the Expos wouldn't leave Montreal if they win.
Yeah,
you never know.
It changes everything for a city.
Yeah.
Listen, Expos was 74-40 that season. Yankees was 70-44. That was certainly the 2 best teams in baseball that year. But listen, you'll never know. That was certainly the one season in the history of sports where they didn't complete it. But that's here nor there. And I want to come back to one more game I want to pick before I come back to some other things. I'll have Randy Dillon. He'll come on here in a few minutes. I'll get a few thoughts from him on wrestling to work in that. But I want to pick one more game because I know the Brew Force Brad Weiss, he'll be very excited for this game. So I want to go with him first, then go to Chris and certainly Justin as well. And that is, of course, those Pittsburgh Steelers and the Cincinnati Bengals. And just for you, the Brew Force, I was saving. Obviously, at the end, we'll come back to the Jets and Giants. But I wanted to get your thoughts, the Brew Force, obviously, on the beloved Pittsburgh Steelers. Bengals, I know, are at home, though. Certainly 6.5-point favorites that the Bengals are. 44.5 is the over-under, and it's the defending AFC champions, those Cincinnati Bengals, against the beloved Sportswire Radio's own Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Brew Force, Brad Weiss, what's your thoughts? Upset alert here coming on. Are you going to do it? Because I would love to see it.
Oh, hell no. I actually do have a good upset this week, but it is definitely not this one, all right?
All right.
In fact, I think will be the biggest massacre of the week, all right? This will be a massacre, okay? Because, again, you got Mitchell Trubisky and the Pittsburgh Steelers coming to town against Cincinnati, who I think is going to be another really good year for Cincinnati. And I think that division will be between Baltimore and Cincinnati all year long.
Yeah,
I think Cincinnati wins big. They can't. They're not. Again, we talk about their defense, but they're not going to stop Cincinnati. They didn't do it last year, and I think Cincinnati's just going to get better this year. So again, they're gonna smash them. And Mitchell Trubisky, I don't see him putting up more than 13 points in this game for the Steelers. They do not score more than 13. I would say probably be 10. All right, but I could see this game being high 30s to 10, like similar to last year. Just because, right, the Cincinnati Bengals are so superior to the Steelers. And I already told you, the Steelers are getting ready for a very bad season. They're going to struggle this year. I do not see them making the playoffs. I do not see them being in the playoff picture, okay? They're going to struggle, and it will start now. Mitchell Trubisky will struggle, and the Cincinnati Bengals will win big this week. I picked the Steelers to score the least amount of points this week of any team.
Wow. Okay, the Bruford is certainly no fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That continues here, but we'll see about that. I mean, Justin, Bengals, Steelers, obviously there is a rivalry there for sure, Three Rivers, but Bengals are the defending AFC champions. You would think at home they would be able to come out away with the victory, but what do you think here as the Bengals are 6.5-point favorites? 44.5 is the over-under against, as I would like to say, Sportswire's own Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, and actually, I think Vegas is doing us a great favor by putting Cincinnati minus 6.5. I think that is a wonderful line if you're a bettor of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is going to be a bloodbath, and I do think the Bengals are going to come away with the victory. Let me be clear. I do think the Bengals are going to win this game, but I think this is going to be a good old-fashioned AFC North bloodbath, and I think that Mike Tomlin is going to have these boys prepared and ready to play. And I think Mr. Trubisky is going to make some plays in this game. However, I don't think it'll be enough. I do think we're going to see somewhere in the 16-13, 16-10 kind of range. I think that the Pittsburgh defense is going to hold Cincinnati's offense down for a while. And I don't think they're going to have enough firepower to match and, win a game late. But Pittsburgh's going to win some games with their defense this year. Cincinnati's not going to be one of those games.
All right, fair enough here. And Chris, Bengals, Steelers, always an intriguing matchup. Bengals are the defending AFC champions. They are 6.5-point favorites, and 44.5 here is the over-under. One of the more lower ones here this week. And what do you think?
I think Cincinnati is going to win this game. I don't think it's going to be a big blowout, but they'll probably win by at least a touchdown. I do think Cincinnati does not win the division this year. I think Baltimore is going to win it.
Baltimore bounces back. That'd be fair.
Yeah, and I think Cincinnati is going to take – not that they're going to take a big step back, but I think they'll probably get in as a wild card, but I don't think they're getting back to the Super Bowl this year.
Well, that would certainly be hard to come back, and it's very hard to repeat and get back into a Super Bowl. So
yeah, and historically, right, if you look back, a lot of the teams that lose the Super Bowl usually take a step back the next year, but they don't have a good year. So,
well, except for the Buffalo Bills.
Right.
They kept coming back. They kept coming back. Listen, in some ways or another, maybe it was because I saw the ESPN 30 for 30 special a few years back, but I do think what they did was really, really impressive. I know they didn't win the big one, but they got back to it so many different times, and I'll get Randy Dillon in a second, but it almost reminds me of a wrestler that there was a documentary they did. His name was Lex Luger, and Lex Luger would always be there in the big one. He never really quite won the big one, and he was kind of like the Buffalo Bills of the 1990s, and that was the Bills. But I think getting to 4 Super Bowls is still a very impressive feat. But John Gonzalez kind of wants to go over a few picks, and he goes with the Steelers. And I'm going with the Steelers, by the way. I'm picking the Steelers, by the way.
Wow.
I think Tomlin is going to have them ready. I think the defense is going to show up. I'm going 20-17 Steelers. Steelers find a way because the Steelers always beat the Bengals. They've always owned Cincinnati throughout that history. The history of the teams, though.
Oh, not the history again.
History of the team. John Gonzalez is going to definitely back me up on that one. It's a no-brainer. The last 50 years that those teams have played, the Steelers have probably won at least 2/3 of those games, hands down.
So you're
Cincinnati's been bad.
The Steelers are going to win? That's what you're saying, Tom Bryce? They're going to win.
Yeah, I think the Steelers win. And John Gonzalez says Brute will never learn.
Outright win. You're saying outright win?
I think the Steelers win by a field goal on Sunday. I think they win.
Even I think that's a little extreme.
I think, listen, somebody's got to go on the list here. Joey Bostrom, though, doesn't agree. He goes 27-10, and he thinks the Bengals.
Thank you,
And
Jimmy.
I got the Ravens and Titans. You know what? Before I get to Randy, because I really want to get Randy in here. And I know Rob Maraska's got that Met talk. I got to get in there as well. But I do want to go shotgun here and pick the two games. So let's go first with the Titans and Giants. Titans, 5.5-point favorites here over the Giants, 43.5. I kind of know where I'm leaning with this game, but let me go with Chris first. Chris, what do you think here? I'll even work Rob Moroskin here and his thought for Titans and Giants, because I know he knows a little bit about it. But what do you think here, Chris? Titans, 5.5-point favorites over
the Giants are going to have a really bad year. Giants are going to be drafting high. They'll be drafting a new quarterback. The Daniel Jones era is going to end after this year with the Giants. So I think the Titans win pretty, not a big blowout. Like 21-10, maybe 21-13.
Yeah,
but
makes sense. Yeah, I could see that. I think that the moral of the story, before I get to Justin, is that when we think about most likely Daniel Jones, we're going to think about him in the likes of Dave Brown and Kent Graham and some of those more unforgettable Giants quarterbacks, or forgettable quarterbacks. I should say forgettable Giants quarterbacks, because when I think of those more quarterbacks, that's who I think about. That really era after Phil Simms, where there was really some forgettable Giants quarterbacks, and Daniel Jones is probably going to be in that territory. So for you, Justin, I mean, Titans, Giants, I mean, this is the one game I think we're probably all going to agree on here. So what do you think?
Yeah, this is another steamroll situation. Give me the Titans here. I mean, you have Kayvon Thibodeau out. You have Azeez Ojulari out. They're two pass rushers. Their defensive line is going to be very, very compromised against the Tennessee offensive line that's going to be ready to block for Derrick Henry. And, Ryan Tannehill's not going to have to do too much in this game. I know he loses A.J. Brown in the offseason, but, I think that there's going to be enough on offense for them to, just ground and pound. And the Tennessee defense is still going to be good, and it's going to be way too much for Daniel Jones. Probably, I would say at least 2 turnovers in this game for Daniel Jones. It's just going to be a mess for the Giants.
All right, we'll see here in the Brute Force Brad Weiss. Titans, Giants. I mean, something tells me here you're not going to go off the walls here and go upset alert here, but I'll ask you. Titans, 5.5-point favorites. 43.5 is the over-under with the Giants.
I'll keep this nice and quick. Titans win. Derrick Henry runs over the whole team. Period.
All right. For you, Rob Maraska, I know you're a Giants guy, so I'll ask you very quickly to kind of work you back in here. Titans, 5.5-point favorites over the Giants. 43.5 is the over-under. What do you think? And I don't hear you, so you might want to turn your volume on.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. What do you got?
Titans are going to kill the Giants this week. I agree with the guys. The Giants are going to have a horrible season. And you know what? The Giants are going to end up getting, a decent pick, and they're going to have to get a quarterback because you guys are right. Daniel Jones is just not it. And that's
he's going to me in Kent Graham and Dave Brown territory. I mean,
here's a question for the rest of the group, because we know who some of the bad teams are going to be. We know Seattle's going to be really bad this year. We know Atlanta's going to be extremely bad this year. We know Houston's going to be extremely bad. Are they going to be bad enough to be in the Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud conversation at the top of the draft? I don't know that they are.
I don't think they are, because I think that schedule is favorable enough where they're going to probably get like 5 wins.
That's going to have to trade up, or we're going to have to find a diamond in the rough that we don't know about that could come along this college season.
But you know what? But does the Titans? Who's up there? You got Houston. Does Houston stay with?
They're not. I don't think they'll stay with Davis Mills unless Davis Mills has a good season. I liked what I saw from Davis Mills last year, so right. I would be more inclined to give him a chance. I know the Falcons used a 3rd-round pick on Desmond Ridder, the kid from Cincinnati. Seattle's 100% all in on a quarterback.
Right. They're definitely getting a quarterback.
When you have Geno Smith and Drew Lock as your 2 quarterbacks, they're all in on a quarterback for next season. Yeah. So, Seattle's a definite. Atlanta and Houston, I can't say I'm 100% certain.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. You got a few other teams you could throw in there that might be in the discussion that could have a worse record than the Giants. Jacksonville, maybe. If you believe in do you believe Jacksonville will be?
I got to tell you, I think Jacksonville is going to be the most improved team in the NFL this year.
Seattle, maybe you throw in there, maybe as a team that could be a little bit beneath the Giants. That might be a team that might compete for a record. That would be fair. All right, so let me get to a few more comments before I work in Randy Dillon, and I'll come back to the Jets game and maybe one or two other upsets from the brute force before we get out of here, because I do want to work Randy in here. And also, Joey Bostrom here says Titans blow out the Giants. Giants are in for a long year. And by the way, I'm going Titans 30, Giants 10. I agree. I think that this is not the day for the Giants. Titans by 21. John Gonzalez and I are pretty much in sync. No surprise. He's got Miami, Washington, Carolina, and Indianapolis. Maybe we'll go shotgun and pick some of those games in a few minutes. But I want to work in Randy Dillon because I want to try to give everybody a shot. And Randy, always good to be with you, my friend. And as John Gonzalez might say, the Macho Man, Randy Dillon here. But certainly, I will always remind you. I am friends on Instagram with the I am friends with the impersonator of the Macho Man, Randy.
Gotta get him on here, man.
Yeah, I saw
that.
Would be
awesome.
You know what? I got a cold, honestly, the last day, and I actually just didn't have any energy to message anybody, but I am here. But, Randy, I wanted to get your impressions on kind of the week that was in wrestling. Certainly a lot of talk with CM Punk. I saw Triple H with Ariel Helwani. I was watching that interview on YouTube, and certainly Roman retains. Obviously, CM Punk is champion AEW. I have no idea why, but give me a few minutes for some thoughts on wrestling before I work back into football here.
Tom, I don't know if I can a few minutes justice with everything.
I know. If it was me and you, I could do 10 hours on wrestling. You know that. I can do 10 hours on it.
We'll focus more on the AEW side at this point because I think that's where all the buzz was. And the big news, the press conference, CM Punk going in a guns a-blazing, pretty much ripping the executive, the Young Bucks, and Kenny Omega, and really causing a shitstorm, I apologize my language, on the media. But I think that just shows the face of what that company is going through. Why do they give him the title for
That's what I'm saying. How do you give this guy...
we talked about this last week. Why do you give him the title? And then the week after, he runs his executive before a few weeks of just running Hangman Adam Page. And then you have all the speculation of him and the Young Bucks and Omega and Ace Steel getting in a fight. Their titles are dropped. And I talked to a friend about AEW got all the attention in the wrong way this week. And then I just got to say, though, the only good thing for them, MJF was back. And what a promo he delivered on Wednesday saying that Nick Khan is the only Khan in WWE and saying he's going to follow Triple H. But it's really reversal of roles right now where WWE was the one succeeding, where they were the one who they had disgruntled talent and issue in the back, where AEW, the short comp now.
I've kind of liked the last couple of Raws, by the way. The last couple of Raws I've liked a lot.
And then let's not forget the monster himself, Braun Strowman, back, and he looks ripped more than ever. He literally is a monster at this point that could tear someone's head. But I'm interested to see what's going to happen with AEW going down the future, and who's going to get their champion. If it's not Jon Moxley or Daniel Bryanson, I don't know what direction they're.
Well, I would imagine that Danielson will get a victory over Jericho because I would imagine that they're going to even that up.
It doesn't make sense for me to give Jericho the title at this point because what are you really going to do? It makes more sense to, if you really want to give something big with MJF, Jon Moxley or Danielson are the ones to go to.
But Jericho doesn't need the title. He's 50-plus years old. That goes against everything that AEW stood for. To go back to Jericho, listen, when they gave him the title the first time, it made sense because they were a new company starting out, but they don't need him to win the title. His spot should be putting over the talent like he was doing prior with MJF, getting him over, and Daniel Garcia. That's where they should be going in that direction. Eddie Kingston, he got him over. That's what it should be. He should not be champion at this point. What Jericho should be doing, he wants to call himself the Lionheart. I like what he's done. He's in phenomenal shape, but he should not be the champion. Danielson would make sense, but Punk, to me, they got to get that title off Punk. Punk, I got to be honest, and I told you this before, I was never a fan of Punk. When Punk was even champion in WWE, I thought he was such an overrated champion.
In WWE, the only thing that he was going to was he was able to get his voice on a platform. I honestly believe
He had the pipe bomb. That's all he was good
Here's the
for.
thing is with wrestling fans will, I don't think, understand, and his success without the pipe bomb in WWE media and main stage, if he would have done that anywhere else, for example, Impact Wrestling at that time, it would have never gone the level it should have.
No, because it was the right moment. It was the right place. It was where everything crystallized. But if I look at his career again, and yes, he had a nice run. He had a couple runs with the title. But to me, I never thought he was a believable main event draw. I never put him in the level of Cena. I never put him in the level of Orton. Danielson, yes, I could tell you that to me, Bryan Danielson was more believable with his reactions with the fans. Punk, to me, the guy, listen, and I think, was it Bobby Fish who said it best? This guy is not even a mixed martial artist.
No, and that was...
He went into UFC. That was so laughable. You know what, Punk? Honestly, to me, I think it's going to go down where yes, he definitely brought them attention, but at the end of the day, he's a flash in the pan, and I'm just not happy about it. Before I get to these other guys here in a second, I mean, to me, though, I still think WWE has a problem in the fact that they still don't have anybody believable toward Roman Reigns.
There's one guy, and his name, and he's unfortunately on the shelf, named Cody Rhodes.
But he's on the shelf. He's on the shelf.
No, I think McIntyre, they might give him another chance.
No, I feel like that. Nah.
But unless I honestly think at this point, if anyone's going to take the title off Roman Reigns, it's going to be Cody. I think they're just waiting to know if he's going to be ready for Rumble or not.
I don't know. To me, I think at this point they're going to continue to go with Roman. I really don't think they have anybody.
As long as it's not The Rock, I would be happy. Heck, I would be happy if they gave it to someone you laugh with at Raw. I would be happy they give it to Sami Zayn at that point, even though he's a great worker.
He's not believable. I'll tell you who would be believable, but he's not on SmackDown, and they're not going that direction. Would be the guy you mentioned, Braun Strowman, who would be believable. But I don't think they're going to go that path right away. I mean, Karrion Kross, I don't think it's too soon. I don't think that's the right way to go. I actually would believe in a Seth Rollins, but again, because he actually holds technically a victory over Roman Reigns by
the only one to beat him.
So that would make sense. But WWE, they're not going to go that route. That, to me, I don't see it that way. But I do think that NXT's gotten a lot better. Yeah. I think Raw has become enjoyable. I'm loving this whole thing with Dominic Mysterio. I'm loving this whole thing with Edge with that. That's been the highlight of the show. I like what Kevin Owens has done. So there's a lot of things. Raw
and Miz and Dexter Lumis is humorous, but it's also very.
I'll tell you what. That's why Raw, I'm excited for the first time in a long time. So we have some things to talk about, but let's come back to football.
I just want to go one quick thing. Just
talk to me.
I think the big thing's going to be, because we talked about, they said who's going to get fired to go. I think it would be laughable in a year span, the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes with WWE, because they're threatening to walk. I think that'd be laughable.
But they put the trios titles on them.
They stripped them. They're stripped. No intern, no nothing.
Right. But the whole thing, listen, this is the problem that they had, was the inmates running the asylum.
Yeah.
This is what WCW had, into why WCW went south. They're having that times 10. So you know what? Guys like Jericho, guys like Sting, guys like Samoa Joe, Billy Gunn, who were the veterans of the locker room, they need to put that fire out. If they aren't doing that, or even guys like Big Show and Paul White, as they say, or Mark Henry, Christian, they need to be in that locker room putting the fire out. And they're not doing that right now. But
I guess where Vince was smarter than all of us, knowing when he knew what the people wanted to keep his company alive. I said, keeping it strong. So,
but you know what? He ran it like an iron fist. That's the difference. When you have somebody who runs anything else like an iron fist, that's what those things happen. But I want to come back to football. I'll come back to wrestling in a few minutes, and I want to get the guys' takes on the Ravens and Jets, because I got to get Ravens and Jets here. And I want to start with Rob.
Are the Jets even good at this point? Because I've heard the last so many years the Jets have just been trash. It's bad. The Giants. Do they actually have a chance this year or no? I'm going to try to get football more this year to talk with you guys about
I think the Jets kind of do have a chance this year, and these guys are going to tell you why. I want to actually go. Let me go with my resident Jets guy here. There's Chris Bizet first. I'll come back to some of the guys. But Chris, so Randy, he covers the liftoff Jets for us. He was Sharman Phillip. We played it here last last night and earlier on here. And Chris is going to be at the game, by the way, for us this coming Sunday. And I want to pick this game formally for everybody here, and that is the Ravens and Jets. And I think it's a little too high of a spread here. Ravens are 7-point favorites. 44.5 is the over-under here, Chris. And give me some positivity. I know Anthony Finkel's been high on the Joe Flacco train, and some other people have. And I mean, what do you think here when it comes to the Ravens Jets? You're going to be there September 11th. A lot going on there. I mean, do the Jets win here for once in September?
You know what? Without Zach Wilson, I know everybody was getting all upset, but I feel okay with Joe Flacco. I feel like he's not going to lose games for us. If we lose games, it's not going to be because of Joe Flacco. The next 3 games, 4 games, whatever it's going to be. So I think he's going to have a decent game. I think the defense is going to play good, right? Because they have to step up. I was saying it earlier, there's no excuse for this defense not to step up. There's so much talent on the defensive side now. They got to step it up. So I think the defense plays a big part in this game. Offense is going to do just enough. I'd say we win it 24-21. Maybe a late field goal wins it for us. But I think we're going to win this game. We have to.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And maybe September 11th, playing on that day, maybe give them some incentives. Jets did actually win a couple of games at home against some teams that, they weren't supposed to beat. The Bengals game comes to mind. So there was moments here with this team. They did have some moments. And Justin, obviously, I'm going with you also because I love the Jets' enthusiasm here, and I'm hoping for some good things. And I think you said it best at the top of the show here when it comes to the Jets. Please, let's win here in September for a change. And Ravens are 7-point favorites. 44.5 is the over-under. And what do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to go off exactly what I said earlier. This game's a must-win for the Jets, and you know what? I think they're going to find a way. This team is going to play some really spirited defense. I think we're going to really learn about Ahmad Sauce Gardner in this game. Whether it's him with a big-time player or the way he's just shutting down the opposing receiver. And for him, he gets a soft landing spot against the wide receiver core. It's really not all that good. Marquise Hollywood Brown wanted out in the offseason. He gets traded to the Arizona Cardinals. And look, the Jets have to prepare for the fact that they're facing 2 running backs. And they're not even going to face their number 1 running back, J.K. Dobbins. It looks like Dobbins may not play in this game. So you're looking at Gus Edwards, and then you have this glorified running back playing quarterback named Lamar Jackson. So, I mean, how could you be a talented roster and have your best receiver 1 out because he can't stand your passing game? It's going to be about containing Lamar Jackson in the pocket. And I think the Jets are going to do a decent enough job where they're going to slow that offense down. And you know what? I wouldn't go as high as Chris. I don't know if I'd go 24-21. This might be one of those 17-13 ugly games.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think this is going to be an ugly football game. There's no question. This is not going to be a shootout.
I'm going with must win, and I'm going to stick with the Jets are going to come out on top here.
Let me put it this way before I get a Rob Maraska thought on. This is not going to be Chargers Raiders. This is not going to be Chiefs Cardinals. This is going to be one of those games that you might want to find a bathroom break or two frequently. But
it'll set football backwards 60 years.
Yeah, or even 30. I would say even 30. Rob Maraska, you ever thought on the Ravens Jets? You think the Jets win, or you think Baltimore's a little strong here for them right now?
I think it's one of those pick'em games. I think I think it go either way. I think the Jets can win. I think Flacco's going to be fine, and I think it's going to be like Chris said. It's going to come down to the defense of the Jets. The Jets have to win in September because if they don't win in September, it's just going to be another brutal year. So, do I think the Jets have a chance to win Sunday? Yes, I do. We'll see what happens, but it could go either way. But I think the Jets can win.
All right, well, fair enough, and that leaves me to the man that I am most excited to ask about this game, and that is the brute force Brad Weiss, who I'm kind of surprised is actually not going to be there Sunday. But then I thought about you're probably coaching somewhere at a gym somewhere. Maybe it's in Hicksville, Plainview, Syosset, wherever it might be. So that would make as to why you wouldn't be there. But, I mean, what do you think here? Such an intriguing matchup. Joe Flacco wins a Super Bowl with the Ravens. He's now quarterbacking against them for the Jets. You would think that might give some incentives. Anthony Finkel believes that, and some people also might believe that. But it is Lamar Jackson there, and he obviously also could be looking for a big year. A lot of people are high on the Ravens, but I do think it might be a little high here when it comes to the home team and the lack of respect they're getting. But the Brute Force Brad Weiss, all eyes are on you. Ravens are 7-point favorites. 44.5 is the over-under for the Jets at home. And what do you think? And it looks like that the Brute Force Brad Weiss has frozen. So we'll have to re-ask him that question, and we'll wait for him to come back. And while we do that, does anybody else here have an upset special here that they want to pick for a game? Anybody has an upset before I come back to the Brute Force and then get a Randy thought or two on wrestling before?
I'm just looking at this,
here?
and I'm going to try to get more into football. But one game I'm
Sure.
looking at, the Bears and the 49ers.
49ers. Yeah, that was actually going to be the game that, for whatever reason, if there was going to be an upset, I have an inclination that that's where the Brute Force was going. You know what? You stole my notes, because that was where I have a feeling that the Brute Force was going in an upset for, because he wasn't going to say that Commanders Jaguars was his upset game. So that's kind of funny.
Actually, you know what though? But good. I'm glad you brought that game up, because you know what?
Thank you very much.
Because I do not like the fact that Washington's 2.5-point favorites. I think Jacksonville is going to win this game convincingly.
Well, Washington's the home team. That's the only reason they're the home
But
favorite.
they made a lot of changes though, Jacksonville, from last year, from what I heard, right? Like they made like some top end improvements.
They spent the most of the offseason. They hired Doug Peterson, a former Super Bowl winning head coach. I think he and Trevor Lawrence are going to work beautifully together. And I think like I said a few minutes ago, I think the Jaguars are going to be the most improved team in the NFL. And they're going to start off strong, and they're going to come out firing.
Well, that division would definitely lead that you could come back quick. I don't know if it's like a Bengals recovery, but that division's not strong.
But if you told me that the Jaguars finished 6-11 or 7-10, I buy it.
Yeah, I think based off you got the Texans in there, the Titans, nobody really believes. Okay, Colts, but yeah, I think 6 wins. If you tell me 6, yeah, all right. Peterson's a good coach. All right, fair enough. But
I want to have a great year, I think.
I want to come back to the Brute Force Brad Weiss, because I hope now that he's not going to be frozen in time, because this was the game I wanted to ask you more than any other game, because it is the Baltimore Ravens and the New York Jets. Obviously, Joe Flacco is quarterbacking against the team that he once led to a Super Bowl. A lot on the line here. Lamar Jackson is back here as well. 9-11 is on the line here, obviously, with a lot of momentum here. Hopefully can kind of fuel the Jets. And the Ravens may be 7-point favorites. The Brute Force Bradley Weiss, 44.5 maybe over the over-under. But let's say you, and what do you think? And I'm hoping that I see that upset special come on the board.
So this is the second time today I considered actually changing a pick, and then I froze. So
yeah, I know.
Something that's just a reoccurring theme tonight, but I'm going to do it again. I'm not going to change my pick. And as much as I'm wearing the Jets gear, I'm sorry, I'm going to be the party pooper. The Ravens.
Why did you wear the Jets hat then? Why did you wear a Jets hat and shirt?
I'm in the football spirit, all right? But listen, I'm still here to be an analyst and a realist, all right? And ultimately, all right, I do think that the Ravens are going to win this game, all right? And again, I understand the story. I understand Joe Flacco going against his former team. I understand that it's the first game of the season. It's not going to be pretty, okay? But I said it earlier, and I'll say it again. I think Baltimore is probably going to be one of those teams that I could see potentially getting to the Super Bowl, potentially. And I also think that Lamar Jackson could be MVP this season. And
I've heard that from a couple of different people. I have heard that.
Is he like 50?
Huh?
Lamar Jackson, he's like close to 50 at this point?
No, you're thinking of it.
That's Tom Brady. Tom Brady.
But Lamar Jackson,
a little different.
Like 40 or something, right? Like maybe I overgot.
No, Lamar Jackson's young.
Oh, wow.
No, he's like 26.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah, he's still
Don't worry, Randy. I'm coming to you in a couple minutes. Don't worry. I got one more wrestling question for you, so don't worry.
Listen, I really think that Lamar Jackson and it kind of reminds me a little bit of when Joe Flacco was on the Ravens when they did not pay Joe Flacco, right? He went out and had a career year, and brought them to the Super Bowl and won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I think it's going to be very similar for the Ravens. I don't know if they win it, but I think they're going to have a really successful year. I think they will win the division, as Chris Bozzea said. And I think they're going to be one of the toughest teams to beat this year because they play a unique style of football that nobody does. And I think that, with that, of course, am I concerned about their weapons? Sure. They don't have the strongest wide receivers. They don't have the best running backs. But they do have an elusive quarterback who would do just about everything. And I think that the Jets, the reason why I'm not picking the Jets is because I just don't see them formulating enough points. I see this being like a 24-13 game. I think that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I definitely think it's going to be one of those, slow motion games.
Yeah, I think the Ravens get off to a slow start and make us believe that the Jets are going to win, but I think they come out in the second half. They score a couple touchdowns. You see a few long field goals from one of the best field goal kickers in the game, in Justin Tucker. And ultimately, unfortunately, the Jets do not win this week. But I will say, I don't want to give it away too early, but I will say they will win a game in September. We'll get to that next week.
I'm going to say Jets 21, Ravens 17, just for the hell of it. Joey Bostrom says here, defense is going to be key for the Jets. It's going to be an ugly game, but I think the Jets can pull it out. John Gonzalez says Lamar, like his uncle Michael, will dance all over the Jets. The Brute Force, I want to come back to you one more time before I get to Randy, and then we'll get to closing thoughts. Is there any other possible upset special that you have this week?
Oh, there's a big one. And there's a big one. I've been holding it in. I'm waiting for you to get to it, Tom.
I was, and I saved the best place.
All right. But I'll put it up there right now. Ladies and gentlemen, you will not expect this from me ever. Okay, but I'm going to do it week 1. All right. The dumbest team in football will win in week 1. And that is the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons will beat the New Orleans Saints this week. That is my big upset of the week.
But is that really that big of an upset?
Yes, it is.
All right, guys, tell me why. Tell me why.
What's the line?
5.5. New Orleans is 5.5. Over under is 42.5.
Yes, it is. And the reason why it is because the Saints are not being talked about as this team that is going to be an average team this year. They're being talked about as one of the best defenses in the league, as an offense that has a lot of talent. But what's their one thing that they're concerned with?
Quarterback.
Jameis Winston. And I do think the Saints are going to have a good season. That's another team, by the way, that we're going to talk about when it comes to the wild card, which will threaten the Cowboys. Okay, like I said, another team like the Vikings that'll be in that conversation. Okay, but Jameis Winston, right, is inconsistent. Okay, he's going to have some weeks where he prospers and he shows you why the Saints could be good. And then he's going to show you weeks where he's going to throw 3 interceptions. And I'm just saying this week, in week 1, I think he's going to have one of those 3 interception games. And even though the Falcons stink and they're not going to win any games and they're dumb, I say it all the time, they always find a way to screw it up. Okay, but ultimately, the Falcons this week, somehow, some way, this is my pick, they're going to win. The Atlanta Falcons are going to find a way to win. I'm going to say this is the really ugly game of the week. Give me like a 13-9 score. Falcons.
Oh, my God. We're talking like 1950 football. That's a bad game to watch. Boy, I was
You're not going to want to watch it.
I'm gonna have to counter with the brute force here because you see this? I'm gonna eat a W because Jameis Winston will be eating a W on Sunday.
Oof.
The Saints are just a much better team. I don't care if they have quarterback issues. Marcus Mariota is starting for the freaking Falcons.
That's a quarterback issue.
Boy, that would have been if you would have told me
Jameis Winston. I do not trust Marcus Mariota.
Winston was playing pretty good last year before he got hurt too.
Yes, he was, and I think that's a good.
This is why
Michael Thomas coming back for the Saints.
Michael Thomas coming back, and that's a good offense for him because Alvin Kamara really could take the pressure off.
Right.
And yes, that New Orleans defense, despite trading Chauncey Gardner-Johnson to the Eagles, still going to be a very good defense.
Yes, and that's why, again, to my point, this is a big upset. If Atlanta beats them, it's a big upset. That's why I'm taking this point.
That's a big.
All right, do you have any other upset before I move on tonight to get to Randy Dillon to my closing?
Is Carolina an upset over Cleveland?
It's a pick'em game. It's even.
Yeah,
Yes, all right. So
1.5. I got 1.5 right now.
I will say, though, Chris, because remember my definition of upset is the team that's favored to win will not win, okay? I think Cleveland's going to beat Carolina in week 1. I do think that people are kind of sleeping on the Browns because they have Jacoby Brissett at quarterback. Jacoby Brissett is a very good quarterback. He's not great. He's not bad. He's a quarterback that a lot of teams would take, okay, ultimately. And listen, he's going to do just enough to beat Baker Mayfield. And Baker Mayfield, who's probably currently working on another Progressive commercial, okay, is going to come back tomorrow, okay, and he's going to be like, oh, I got to get it back on my old team, okay. I can just see it. He's going to press, okay. He's going to do too much. He's been maligned for trying to do too much in the past, and I think he's going to struggle. He's going to try to do too much of the Panthers. Yes, they have McCaffrey. Yes, they have some weapons, but ultimately Baker Mayfield will get in the way of them winning. And I think Cleveland's defense is also very solid as well. We don't talk about them enough. Okay, but Cleveland's got a good defense. The offense will do enough, and the Cleveland Browns will win against the Panthers.
John Gonzalez says, Brute, it's past your bedtime picking Falcons and Browns. He thinks the Saints have a good game. I picked the Steelers also, so I'm with John Gonzalez on that. So I think that I've got an idea on your upset. So you're going there where you need to go, the Brute Force. I think that you've got pretty much what you wanted to say there when it comes to most of the games. I hope for some more upsets from you next week when we run through the games. But, Randy, I wanted to ask you the last question before I get to closing thoughts to everybody tonight. And I wanted to come back to wrestling because I find this whole situation with Sasha Banks and Naomi to be so fascinating because I would think by now I had heard comments from Triple H in his interview I listened to, and it seems to me like maybe there could be some door opening to bring them back. But then I see them, and they were at the Yankees game last night, and I see them at a runway show. And while I wasn't complaining about looking at them, I want to see them in a WWE ring because they're probably two of the best wrestlers, not just female or male, but in the world. I mean, what's your observations on this whole situation between Sasha Banks and Naomi?
This plot keeps getting thicker and thicker with these two as the time go on because when Triple H took over, the rumor was they were going to come back. And the rumor been when are they going to come back? When are they going to come back? It's been a while now. I think the big thing is if they bring them back right now, what are you really going to do with them? With Naomi, it's simple. You complete the bloodline as the only female there. But for Sasha Banks, there's not really much you can do with her. For SmackDown, I don't think she wants to go there and work with Rousey. I think there's a little bit bitterness there because the report was she was not happy that Rousey took her spot at WrestleMania, but we talked about this, Tom. Rousey sells more tickets than that's why she going to wrestling another pay-per-view at Extreme Rules in Philly in October. With Raw, I think they have a good thing going with Bianca Belair, and I think we just saw that. We don't really need to see another thing. So really for Sasha Banks, there's not much really you can do with the two. And I think until they can find out something to do with them, and I think it's going to be really the singles route as well. So until they find something they can do with both them singles, they're not going to come back anytime soon.
Yeah, I do agree with you that I think it's going to be very difficult to be able to place them somewhere and also for their value. And it's probably in their interest to kind of sit this out for a little bit. There's no question that Sasha Banks, I think it's her and Charlotte Flair, the only two wrestlers to have won the women's title more than 10 times. So certainly it's not in their interest. And even how they kind of brought Bayley in, it took Bayley a long time to get integrated. And they certainly do have a problem. Again, kind of like what AEW has right now in the reverse with the gluttony of talent in the women's division. And certainly Liv Morgan, a very kind of controversial champion.
Her run now is kind of falling short. We were also happy with her winning it, but
she wasn't believable as a champion going into it. That was the problem. She was kind of like, meh.
That feel-good story. She was kind of that feel-good story. You win, like Mick Foley. You win the big one, but we didn't feel like it was going to happen back in the
I think it was worse, though, because Foley at least had moments where you said, you know what? Okay, yeah, he's kind of a main eventer. I never, with a straight face, really believed Liv Morgan in that role. That's the problem to me. And they've had a problem in trying to place people in. Alexa Bliss took them a while to bring back in. Asuka, obviously, that was a whole thing. And obviously Sasha and Naomi. And it took Bayley a long time to be integrated again. I mean, they've had this problem with so many women's wrestlers. But hey, that's the wrestling business for you. And this was quite a action-packed show, to say the least, here on Sportswire Radio. And we're getting close to the end, so let's get to some closing thoughts. So I'm going to come to Rob Maraska. Obviously, I know you got that contest still going on. You obviously have that still out there, and some other things I'm sure you want to get off your chest, Mr. Maraska. So I turn it over to you, my friend, and anything you want to plug, share, say, and the floor is yours, my friend.
Okay, thank you. And we do have a contest winner.
Yep.
His name's Chris Steedman, and he's from Alberta, Canada. We have a winner from Canada of the Brett Beatty card. He's excited about it. I received the cards, and it's out in the mail, so he should be receiving that next week. Other than that, let's get to the Mets real quick. All the Mets have to do is win. Like you guys said, don't watch the scoreboard. Don't worry about what the Braves are doing. Just play baseball. Just win games. The Braves are hot right now. The Braves, I mean, they're the ones with the confidence right now. The Braves are looking really, really confident and really, really good. And the Mets just have to take care of their own business and not worry about what's going on elsewhere. So that's all I got to say about that. We'll see what happens next week. Go ahead. Sorry.
And where can we find Chris Steedman on Twitter?
Oh, okay. He goes under Big Country Reeves fandom on Twitter.
All right.
And
that would
congratulations one more time to him. And, let's see what happens with the Mets. And if anybody wants to get in touch with me on Twitter, it's R. Maraska and Rob Maraska on Facebook. And thanks, guys, for another awesome week.
Big Country Reeves is his Twitter. Reminds me, I think, of the basketball player that kind of became a bust a little bit. He played for the Vancouver Grizzlies, and his name was Brian Big Country Reeves. Yep.
Yeah, that's what it is. Big Country Reeves fandom, and I guess there's a picture of him there. Yes, you're correct.
Yeah, I had his rookie card, and I thought I was going to be rich off it, and he wound up playing a couple years in the NBA, and he didn't really accumulate too much. And that was kind of the Vancouver Grizzlies, but that's different place, different time. We'll speak about that. And Justin, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you any closing thoughts, anything that you want to plug, share, say. And I can't thank you enough, and the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you for another good week. And maybe this is now the good time for me to unveil my 3 locks of the week.
Let's do it.
Number 1, Derrick Henry over 98.5 rushing yards against the Giants on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Number 2, we are hammering plus 2.5 with the Jacksonville Jaguars, and they're going to, and I have them winning that game outright. Number 3, let me get the exact number so that I am 100% correct. It will not show me, but I'm going over on Justin Herbert passing yards. I believe it was showing me 287.5.
Okay,
those are my 3 locks of the week. I'm excited. The NFL season's back. And obviously, we're winding down with baseball and the pennant races, and we'll see what happens with the Mets.
Yeah.
Now that I am done traveling, and unfortunately, I got clouded out, not rained out, of PNC Park on Monday. I could not go.
It was a terrible couple of days of weather here in the tri-state area. My God.
And it didn't even rain Monday in Pittsburgh, but they called the game early, and they made the game up Wednesday. Obviously, I couldn't get back to Pittsburgh, so fortunately, I didn't get to see PNC Park, but now that I'm done traveling, Baseball Banter will finally return this weekend because now I could finally settle back into my regular weekly schedule instead of everything moving and being crazy all over the place. So find me on Twitter at JGNLE12. I'll post my locks there, and at B-Ball Banter SM.
And I'll be sure to make a clip of that for sure for Sunday. So we look forward to all that great stuff. Can't wait for the Baseball Banter. And Chris, I give you the floor. Any closing thoughts? Obviously, want to give that to you. Also, looking forward to hearing the liftoff Jets once again. Also, congratulations on going to the game on Sunday with Sharman. Obviously, we love everything that Sharman does with you here on the station. So I turn it over to you, my friend, and the floor is yours.
Yeah. Guys, great show as always. Love talking with you guys. Yeah, I'm looking forward to going Sunday. Hopefully, it's a Jets win. Should be a good day either way. And getting back with the Yankees for a second and the Mets, like you said earlier, just got to win games, man. Just got to get back. Yankees got to figure out how to score runs. That's what they got to. I don't know how, but they got to figure out how to score runs. Hopefully, they could get a little hot, get somebody, and hopefully somebody comes back healthy. I don't know who at this point, but they got to get somebody healthy, or else it's going to be a very quick playoff for them. But me and Patrick will be back talking Rivals probably Monday, and then Monday or Tuesday, because I know Monday I'll be busy day for me Monday, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, me and Sharman will be reviewing week 1 of the NFL season, and we'll be previewing week 2, and hopefully we're talking about the Jets are 1-0 going into week 2 finally for the first time in a long time. So remember, you could catch me, CP7NY, on Twitter. You could catch the show at Talking Rivals, the other show at Liftoff Jets, and be on the lookout. It'll be coming up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Sure.
I'm looking forward to all of that here. Of course, love the Talking Rivals. I usually play it at some point during the day, usually before I go live, because I go live multiple times throughout the week on Sportswire with all of our wrestlers out there, and I want to shout them all out, which I'll do in my closing thoughts. And Randy, I turn it over to you, my friend. Love bringing you here. Love the added component to wrestling, because I know all my wrestlers out there find a way to come to Sportswire for a minute or two, and they watch some of the different things. So love that. Obviously, hockey's not too far away. The NHL schedule was released. We'll talk maybe a little bit about that next week. I saw the national games that were on the TNT and ESPN schedule. TNT gets the Stanley Cup this year, so we'll see how that plays out here in America. But I turn it over to you, Randy. Anything you want to plug, share, say, and the floor is yours, my friend, and fire away.
Like everyone else, happy to be here. My highlight of the week, coming in, chatting with you guys.
I appreciate that. That's nice of you to say.
I learned a
Very
valuable lesson that Lamar Jackson's not 50. I have to learn a lot to learn about football. But on 2 notes with hockey, we're about 2 weeks away from our first preseason action, so that's going to be exciting. I'm going to be recording an episode with Jennifer Shepro.
I know Jennifer. We've had Jennifer on here in the past.
And we'll be talking about this one, the Penguins. I'm really interested to get her opinion, because the way they're going, what she said on Twitter, is going to be interesting. And then with wrestling, I know there's a lot of divide in wrestling fans. They pick their side, WWE or AEW, but for me, it's just like, this is the first time we've had some good quality wrestling in a long. I wasn't around the Monday Night Wars. Maybe you, Tom, I know you were. So
I was definitely around the Monday Night Wars.
So this is great to see. Like, Dynamite was actually good this week. Raw and SmackDown's been phenomenal.
Yeah, AEW was pretty good this week. You know, that's a good point. I did think Dynamite was pretty solid. I thought most of the segments I watched it were pretty good. Yeah.
So I think just enjoy it, and enough with the hate. But if you want more of my opinion, you can follow me on Twitter at Randy Dillon, DillonDhillon. And for anything hockey related, you can follow us at the Hockey Fan Chat Facebook page.
I look forward to that. Obviously, shout out to Jen as well, and also looking forward to some wrestling talk. And of course, again, got to shout out Impact, NWA, MLW as well. We didn't have that in the Monday Night Wars. We had 3 companies. We had 3 in Japan. Japan wasn't what it is now. So I would remind you that I actually think the wrestling scene is better than it was then, because you only had really 2.5 companies. ECW was sort of.
ECW was up before it was down, so that's the thing.
They had a network deal, but it was sort of major, but it was really. Now we have several companies.
Exactly.
At many things. And Joey Boschen, before I get to the Brew Force, says, great show once again. Can't wait for Sunday football. Mets just got to win, as do the Yanks. Yes, I think that's what Brad has been telling us here. The sports group chat, which, by the way, on Facebook, Joey Boschen, you got to send invites to some of these guys here also that are on here. Make sure they get and join the group. I know your friend Justin, and I feel like, why do I know Justin from somewhere? Where is he from on Staten Island? Because I feel like we're friends on Facebook, and I just don't know who his mutual friends are, but I did see that we're friends on Facebook. So, yes, the sports group chat, definitely join that if you aren't already on there. Joey Bostrom starts sending out invites for that. But all great stuff there, but we didn't certainly save the best for last, but as always, we saved the biggest for last, and also A congratulations to the Brute Force, which I'll get to after his spot. Obviously, his level up team did very, very well. He is a winner once again with that. But the Brute Force, Brad Weiss, as always, these are the closing thoughts that everybody likes to hear. So I turn it over to you, my friend, and the floor is yours.
Yeah, Tom, thank you for another great week of the show. Thank you, Chris, Justin, Randy, Rob, of course, for another great week. Always look forward to coming on here. And it's a fun time, like I said last week, with NFL and a lot of things going on. So it's a good time to be here on the Sports Report. So I thank you guys. Of course, myself, you can find me on Instagram at bweiss20, searching Twitter at bradweiss20, and searching Bradley Weiss on Facebook. I'm right on cue. Exactly what I was going to start with tonight. I was very fortunate to get my very first Level Up championship this past Tuesday with my 6th grade boys from the summer. Very proud of them. They played really hard. We played a very good Syosset team in the championship, and we got it done. So I was obviously ecstatic. My voice was completely shot on Tuesday, but I put every ounce of effort into making sure those kids won, and they did the trick, and they worked really hard for their coach. So I'm proud of every single one of them. I want to give them a shout out here on the Sports Report. Of course, Level Up. You can follow at levelup_LI. I will actually be busy the next 2 days because we have our fall-winter tryouts on Saturday and Sunday, and we're expecting over 800 kids.
Wow. Wow.
There. So we are doing great things with Level Up. It's our biggest attendance yet, and our program is just going in the right direction. So I'm really excited for everything Level Up is doing. And as I said, I'm a first-time champion, so they'll post my picture on the website, and those kids were really proud. It was an awesome moment. It's just the first of many accomplishments in my young coaching career, so I'm really excited for that. With everything else, listen, the Mets, you guys, we harped on it. I just wanted to focus on, winning games. And my last point with the Mets was going to be, I remember being on the other side of things, being the Mets, being the team that's winning, right? And then playing, when you see a team that's weaker, you kind of look over them. You kind of think about, we're just going to do fine against this team because they're so-and-so. You can't play with that, mentality. You have to go into every game treating the opponent like they're 0-0 and you need to win against them. You can't think about, what their record is, what they've done lately, blah, blah, blah. Your job is to go out there, compete, and win the game. And I think the Mets are getting too caught up as well in the other team's record, thinking that they're going to just wash them over, right? And they're not doing that right now. So that's another thing I wanted to add. And with all that being said, I'm extremely excited for the NFL football season. I'd like to wish luck to Chris this weekend as we're playing each other in fantasy football. So
thank you again for the invite. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. So I'm very happy to have Chris in the league, but I will say that I must do what I have to do and get this win this weekend. So I'm sorry, Chris, but he still might beat me. So we'll see what happens. We'll talk about that
Hopefully
next
it's close.
But what I will say is I kept track of all the picks tonight. I'll ask you guys for any other games because every week I'm going to post our standings right here on the big board. So I'm going to post the standings and let's see.
Oh, looking forward to that. I'm sure I'm going to be in last place because I picked all the homer teams.
You were very contrarian, Tom Bryce. Either you're going to be up top.
I've been told that. Listen, I've been told that in my political career. I've been told that. I've been told that in my personal life, and I'm no different here, I guess, when it comes to Sportzwire.
That's not a bad thing, all the time.
We'll say.
I say it all the time because people always tell me, listen, I got to follow and do what other people do. I do what I want and I do what I feel. And like I said, when I'm on this show, all right, I'm here to give my best analysis on things. And even though John Gonzalez could disagree with me all he wants, all right, I'm still going to come and give you my best. So, John Gonzalez, I love you, but you don't believe me too much. You got to change it. That's all I'm going to say.
All right.
So,
fair enough.
Thank you, everybody, for another great week of the show. I'm looking forward to more. It will be a busy weekend for myself, so I'll definitely be watching as much football as possible. I'll have to try to find NFL Red Zone at the gym, all right, somehow. All right, but I'll figure it out, and ultimately I'll be ready for next week with another great week of the show as well with week 2. And like I'll finally say, even though I picked the Ravens, we all know I'm going to be rooting for the Jets. So hopefully the Jets win.
All right. You made up for it. You made up for it. Fair enough. And of course, Brad Weiss 20 on Twitter, B Weiss 20 on Instagram, Bradley Weiss on Facebook, and is it Bradley Weiss on Snapchat? I forget because I reactivated Snapchat, so I know we're on Snapchat still as well. So we'll make sure that everybody follows the Brute Force on all of those great platforms. And I want to congratulate the Brute Force again on the Level Up team. It was a very nice picture I saw with obviously the Super Force, your father, who I've had the good fortune to obviously now sit with a couple different times at different games. Obviously, a tremendous honor to see that. Congratulations to all the players. I also want to, before we get out of here, obviously September 11th is the 21st anniversary this Sunday. I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge all of those people who unfortunately lost their lives that day. And one of the worst days, obviously, in the history, not only of the United States, but certainly in the world. And I wanted to obviously just take the time out to pay my respects to all the law enforcement and the first responders that were out there that horrible day. And so many people impacted, whether you're in Long Island, whether you're in Staten Island, whether you're in parts of Brooklyn, or even if you're in the world like Randy is in Canada. People think about September 11th, and just like we think about Queen Elizabeth's death here, and obviously what that meant to so many people. Obviously, a lot of us supporters in England, to me, it's conversely the same for different reasons. But obviously, I wanted to take the time to acknowledge, and my thoughts and prayers, and everybody on Sportswire certainly gives our well wishes to anybody impacted by that, whether it's a loss of a loved one or anything that goes on. And obviously, a horrific day, and many people still remember where they were that day on September the 11th, 2001, in that morning, Tuesday morning, very warm summer-like day here, and a lot of people, I'm sure, certainly have thoughts on that, and I wanted just to extend my well wishes to anybody impacted. I know the Jets will make sure that they pay respects. I've heard that the Mets have petitioned again to wear the FDNY and the NYPD hats. I am sure the Yankees will do the same thing. I would like to add sanitation as well in there as well, because they obviously also were there helping out a lot of people as well, and anybody else impacted. So I wanted to acknowledge that before I got here, because I felt that was the right thing to do. Also, I wanted to acknowledge Anthony Alfaro, who was the head coach over at Five Town Sound for the women's basketball team, and Coach is no longer coaching there, and I had a conversation with Coach. I won't share what that conversation was about, but I did want to extend my well wishes to Coach Alfaro, and I promised I would give him a shout out and recognition. I'm sure we'll have him back on, and he'll coach, and he'll get on his feet for sure. That's the unfortunate part, the Brute Force, is that college basketball, it is a business, and we do see that even at our level. We get to know these people, Coach Gordieso and Coach Heenan and all the different people that we've had on. There is a business. I also wanted to extend my thoughts and prayers to the family of Jamel Gist. Unfortunately, Jamel, I don't know if you heard, the Brute Force had lost a loved one. He had somebody that was killed in his family not too long ago, and I wanted to extend my thoughts to Coach Gist. Obviously, he is the coach now over at York College. He is the head coach, and Jamel has been on for a couple different times with us, and Jamel has been a very, very big supporter of ours on Sportswire Radio, and I wanted to extend my thoughts and prayers to his beautiful family. Obviously, his brother as well, Justin, and his other brother that also plays at St. Joseph's, Brooklyn, the entire family there as well, Jonathan Gist, just a beautiful family, and I wanted to extend my thoughts and prayers to them, and I wanted to thank everybody that has come on here to Sportswire Radio this week. I want to thank the natural-born fighter, R.P. Davis, who came on with us earlier this afternoon, also Wildfire Nate Reese. I want to thank Wrestling Championship Entertainment for their support. I want to thank the Psycho Wolf, Nicholas Crenson, James Marshall. I want to thank, obviously, as well, Nonstop Action Wrestling, the Lawman Kyle Kennedy, and I want to thank everybody that continue to support us. We'll be back here next week with Chris Murphy of Nonstop Action Wrestling. Also, GT Ministries coverage as well will resume as well with Bluegrass's Girl and Gareth Angel and much, much more. But in the meantime, if you're on sportnarium.com/player, you can go back to your regularly scheduled program. If you're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn, you will be back with us here at some point next week. And also, good luck to everybody on those pick'em games. I'm certainly looking forward to what the Brute Force has to share. And thank you, everybody. Congratulations to Chris Steedman again on Rob Maraska's contest. I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce. We were joined with Chris Pizzea, the Liftoff Jets and the Talking Rivals, Justin Gianelli of the Baseball Banter, Rob Maraska, Randy Dillon of the Hockey Fan Chat. Follow his group on Facebook, and the Brute Force, Brad Weiss, the legendary SJC New York Golden Eagle, Level Up, Long Island Brew Crew, Long Island Nets, Plainview JFK Hawks Boys JV Team. Thank you, everybody. Good night. good morning, wherever you may are. And I am the host of the Sports Report, the station manager of Sportswire Radio, the Reverend Tom Bryce.